On behalf of Sahel Consulting and Nutrition Limited, Sahel Capital, I'm delighted to welcome you all to the Sahel Scholars Conference 2022. I'd like to especially welcome our partners and appreciate our guest speakers, entrepreneurs, student participants, and stakeholders from across Africa and across the globe who have joined this event and partnered with us to make this possible. We had over 1,200 guests registered for this event, and this shows the importance of this theme. I thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedule today to join us. I'll get us started with the agenda for the event, which I'll be running us through right now. We have the welcome and introduction, and we'll have our opening remarks in the next few minutes, after which we'll have introduction to Sahel and insights from the Sahel Scholars Program. We have the keynote address. There are two panel discussions today. We'll start with the first one, and then we would have some of our previous Sahel scholars share their experiences. Then we go into the second panel discussion, after which we will have a breakout session where we would have an opportunity to interact and discuss with very amazing speakers. We have the closing remarks and vote of thanks. We expect to run this event within 2 hours and 30 minutes. Before I go ahead, I would like you to post about this event by tagging at Sahel Consulting and using our event hashtag, that is hashtag SSC 2022 on all your social media platforms. That includes Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We have some housekeeping rules that I would like to point out before we proceed with the program. First, use the expression buttons such as raise your hand, thumbs up, wave to contribute or call for attention. All attendees will be able to participate in all relevant phases of this event. Kindly use the chat box to contribute and send in your questions. Also ensure to address your questions to a particular speaker so that the speaker's attention can be called to respond to you in good time. Also refrain from posting anything in the chat that is unrelated to this event. When allowed to speak during a Q&A and breakout session, we request that you kindly respect the group's time and keep your comments brief and straight to the point. Finally, the Sahel Scholars Conference Organizing Committee are available to provide links and guidance in the chat box. So reach out if you need any information, support, or clarification. Now we will start with the program, and I'll be introducing Deji Adebusoye, who is a principal at Sahel Capital, to give the opening remarks. Over to you, Deji.
Thank you very much, Fisayo. And good morning, everyone. And welcome to another edition, another Sahel Scholars Conference. We are happy to have been scheduling this conference for the last couple of years. And we are happy to be scheduling another one this year, which actually sits very well with the theme that we'll also be talking about and the times that we are in. My name is Deji Adebusoye. As Fisayo said, I'm a principal with Sahel Capital, and we are one of the joint organizers of the Sahel Scholars Conference, along with Sahel Consulting and Nourishing Africa. As some of you might know, and some of you might be aware, the agriculture sector actually supplies about 60% of the jobs in sub-Saharan Africa. And you know, many youths today are still shying away from the sector. Many see the sector as being old, as being archaic, and you know, they don't want to be part of it. It's seen as the sector for people who are not young and innovative and upcoming. But we are seeing the times change, and we are seeing a lot more young people participate in the sector. More so at Sahel and Nourishing Africa, we strongly believe that youths have a very significant role to play in the transformation of the ag sector through technology and innovation. And like I said, we're already seeing increasing participation among youths in the sector. And they are doing that by leveraging innovation and technology in different ways to develop sustainable solutions that can help end some of these ongoing endemic challenges that we are seeing in the sectors, challenges around food production. We are seeing issues around productivity, challenges around creating market access for farmers to be able to get a market for their produce, or even financing across the entire value chain for some of the activities we are doing, or processing value add some of the products. These are some of the many challenges that we are seeing. And as you would probably hear some of the speakers today, many people are already pitching in to see how they can solve most of these challenges. The theme of this year's conference is the Climate Food Nexus, African Youth Leadership, African Youth Leading Sustainable Solutions. I will have to announce to you, for those who don't know and those who are aware, that climate change is real. And the fact is that it's impacting us in more ways than we can ever imagine. Subtly and directly, it is affecting our lives and our livelihoods. We are seeing the impact of climate change on cropping cycles. We are seeing the impact on the utilization of water, for crops and amongst different animal usage as well. We are seeing the prevalence of pests and diseases like we've never seen before, especially new ones that are alien to certain environments. There are weather-related disasters that we are seeing that are happening as a result of ongoing climate changes. Right now, as I speak to you, the drought in Tanzania is leading to a drop in milk yields, for the pastoralist. And you and I are very familiar with the many flooding events that have taken place in Nigeria that has decimated, and destroyed a lot of farmlands, which has implication on the productivity of those farmers and ultimately their harvest, their income and their livelihoods, and even far more reaching impact on the livelihoods of all those who depend on them for their food. And we are seeing delays in the onset of rainfall, in many locations as well. And what that means is that it impacts the cropping cycle, as well as introduce new pests and diseases, which are alien, completely new to these farmers. The reality is that the farmers are not prepared for this kind of events. And as a result, as I mentioned before, their productivity is hampered. And when their productivity is hampered, it affects our own supply of food. It affects the prices of food, and we are seeing rising inflation as a result of this. So all these are imminent challenges that are facing us today, and there are problems that we need to find lasting solutions for. Food inflation is on the rise. Unfortunately, Sub-Saharan Africa is not prepared for this as well. As some of you might know, there was a research that was done in 2020, 2021, and it suggests that an average Nigerian spends over 100% of the household income on food. If you are surprised at what that means, if you're a student of maths, what it simply means is that after having spent all the income on food, they actually borrow, to still feed. And that's a perpetual cycle of poverty that we are seeing perpetuating itself. Unfortunately, if the situation of food inflation as a result of climate change persists, in Sub-Saharan Africa will be one of the people that will be most hit, by this event. And so we have to take the bull by the horn to see how we can address some of these challenges that are befalling us. So I will take this as much as a clarion call, to invite our youths to continue to leverage the tools of technology and innovation to create sustainable solutions that will safeguard our food ecosystems and lead to increasing income, and better livelihood for everyone that is concerned. So once again, I'd like to say welcome to the 2022 Sahel Scholar Conference. And I believe that by the end of this session, you'll be more motivated and more passionate about going to create solutions that will help us to harness the resources we have, as well as contain the potential impact of climate change on our environment and our livelihood. Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you so much, Deji, for that very interesting remark. At this point, we'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to the Sahel family, the purpose for which we are gathered here today. We have a short presentation that will give you an insight into the Sahel group, the companies behind this conference and our activities in the landscape, and a background into the Sahel Scholars Conference. Over to you, Ife. Ife is a manager at Sahel Consulting, and she'll be delivering this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Visaya. Welcome again, everyone. And we're truly excited that you have joined us for the important event today. As our moderator mentioned, my name is Ifeoluwa Olorunipa, and I'm a manager at Sahel Consulting, Agriculture and Nutrition Limited. I'll be providing a brief introduction into the Sahel Group and Nourishing Africa, the three companies that are behind the Sahel Scholars Conference. Starting with Sahel Consulting, Agriculture and Nutrition Limited, we're a management consulting firm that works across Africa to transform the agriculture and nutrition landscape. Our mission is to transform Africa's agriculture and nutrition landscape through tailored, innovative, and market-based research, strategic advisory services, training and innovative businesses, ecosystem solutions, thereby impacting communities and achieving sustainable growth. We also partner with government agencies, private sector companies, and leading international development organizations in the provision of these services, conducting in-depth market research on key value chains, analyzing and shaping policies, developing strategies, launching innovative businesses, organizing convenings such as this, and providing training programs that promote sustainable agricultural development across Africa. And our work in the landscape contributes directly to the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, as included on this slide. And we work in a range of countries in Africa. We're located in Nigeria. We took offices in Lagos and in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And we implement a range of projects across the food and agricultural landscape in Africa. One of our projects is focused on advancing local dairy development in Nigeria, and really with the aim to catalyze the local dairy sector in Nigeria in a way that improves the livelihood, productivity, nutrition, and empowerment of smallholder women, dairy farmers, and the communities in which they live. The program is also referred to as Audin, and it's a 5-year project that's funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We commenced this in 2020, and we work across 5 states in Nigeria. Audin focuses on 6 key components: organization of farmers, infrastructure development, productivity improvements, financial inclusion and income support, training and extension, advocacy and behavioral change, and policy advocacy to support the thriving dairy sector in Nigeria. On the slide, you would see the different interventions for each of the components so far. And we work with 5 dairy processors across all our 5 project states, and also 2 implementing partners. And we also have support from the state and federal government. On another program, which is called the Collaborative Seed Program, we work with a consortium of partners to enhance the performance of the seed sector in Nigeria. And the CSP, which is also what is known as the Collaborative Seed Program, is designed to contribute towards improving sustainable income, food and nutrition security of rural households in Nigeria by improving farmers' access to and use of quality seed of improved varieties. The program also focuses on 8 key areas as listed on this slide, and really to achieve 4 major outcomes, such as enhancing the capacity of the seed sector and enhance the efficiency, fairness, and transparency of seed value chains and seed markets, enhance coordination among stakeholders, enhance rules and systems that govern seed markets, production systems, and service delivery. And another of our projects, which is called Basics, building an economically sustainable integrated cassava seed system in Nigeria. We're also an implementing partner, which aims on this project, and the project aims to transform the cassava seed sector in Nigeria and Tanzania. The Basics project is currently in its 2nd phase, and it's funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, really with the overarching goal to provide farmers with access to affordable, quality assured seeds of cassava varieties in demand by local food and processor markets. And we're implementing a component called the Processor Associated Seed System Model, where we provide support for cassava processors to establish rapid seed multiplication units to produce quality stems for their use, and also the use of outgrowers that they work with. And Sahel Consulting is currently providing technical and business advisory support to 4 processors across 2 states in Nigeria. And for the second company in this group, which is the Sahel Capital Agribusiness Managers Limited, this is a private equity firm in Lagos, Nigeria, that provides capital for businesses in the agriculture sector. And Sahel Capital has a range of portfolio companies that are located across various states in Nigeria. And it's also focused on the development of the sector through investments, and works with a range of local and international partners to achieve this. Sahel Capital is the fund manager for the Fund for Agriculture Finance in Nigeria, which is also referred to as FAFIN. Now, FAFIN has a size of $65.9 million US, and this was launched in 2014, and really invests in high growth enterprises across the food and agribusiness sector in Nigeria. And in addition to providing funding, FAFIN also has a technical assistance facility that provides capacity building support to portfolio companies. FAFIN is jointly sponsored by the German government, the Nigerian government through the FMAD, that's the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, and the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority. Now, other institutions that are involved include the CDC Group, the African Development Bank, and the Dutch Growth Fund, and they also provide investment capital to the fund. FAFIN currently invests in companies across Nigeria and across various value chains, so ranging from poultry to rice to dairy, cassava, shea butter, food packaging materials, and distribution. Now, another fund that Sahel Capital manages is called the Social Enterprise Fund for Agriculture in Africa, SEFA. Now, SEFA has a size of $24 million US, and this was launched just last year. It's an impact-first debt fund that aims to enhance the business ecosystem for smallholder farmers across 13 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. However, SEFA anchors on 5 countries, which is Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, and Ivory Coast. SEFA also invests in social agricultural enterprises across the agricultural value chain in sub-Saharan Africa that are actively and substantively contributing to enhancing the business ecosystem, income opportunities for smallholder farmers, either directly or indirectly. And in addition to providing capital, SEFA also has a technical assistance facility for management, capacity building, product certification, market research, and the development of smallholder farmers outgrower networks. Now, for the third company in the group, which is called Nourishing Africa, Nourishing Africa is a knowledge and membership platform that is aimed at supporting agri-food SMEs to scale profitable and sustainable businesses across the continent. Now, we understand that agribusiness SMEs across the continent often struggle when it comes to access to markets, funding, advertising, amongst others. And Nourishing Africa helps to bridge this gap and provide a one-stop hub for these entrepreneurs to access these key resources aimed at helping their businesses grow, essentially transforming their communities and ensuring that over time, African continent will be food secure and can become net exporters of food to the world. And this is part of Nourishing Africa's mission. And Nourishing Africa does this through 3 key components. The first is through a membership portal, which is aimed at building a community of agripreneurs, as well as agriculture enthusiasts, which are able to bring key stakeholders from across value chains together to provide resources, knowledge, data, or information, and also to connect them with one another and ensure that they can partner to scale, share ideas, and engage in peer learnings. Secondly, Nourishing Africa has a range of knowledge and capacity building initiatives where we provide workshops and training on critical and timely changes, and also structures within the agribusiness and the agriculture and food space. And the third component is a robust resource hub where Nourishing Africa provides critical resources, including funding, data, e-learning, events, technology, talent, input, and other resources to over 100,000 entrepreneurs and agriculture SMEs needed, which is what is needed to launch and scale their profitable and resilient agribusinesses. Now, when it comes to our reach, here are some numbers. Nourishing Africa has over 1,700 members across 37 African countries, and we've held over 60 knowledge sharing sessions, trained over 6,000 agribusinesses, and have over 145,000 unique users of the hub. And they are now part of our community. They engage in workshops and utilize the hub as a search engine for all things related to agriculture in Africa. And if you're an agri-food entrepreneur in Africa, please join the Nourishing Africa community using the link in the chat. And now to the aim of this event. As a group, we're committed to giving back to communities around us, and we do this through our corporate shared values project. And for us, what we also call CSV, this means the implementation of programs that build the capacity of individuals, advance social conditions in communities around us, and also means partnership with organizations that have shared values to undertake programs that solve societal needs, as well as the inclusion of the underserved and vulnerable population. Now, each year we implement capacity building and humanitarian projects that create sustainable value in communities around us. Our mission through our projects is to create sustainable value through strategic investment, partnerships, and philanthropy. And there are two key programs under our CSB, which is the Community Empowerment Programs and the Sahel Scholars Program. The objective of our Community Empowerment Program is to impact communities through the implementation of humanitarian projects. And under our Sahel Scholars Program, our objectives are to provide mentoring, internships, and scholarships for top performing students in faculties of agriculture, and to organize annual conferences generated towards generating awareness and interest in agribusiness. And this Sahel Scholars Conference is one of the components of the Sahel Scholars Program. And over the years, our community and development programs have cut across the impact areas of education, health, and environment. Now, pictures on this slide include donation of equipment to a hospital in Lagos, the renovation and painting of classroom blocks in a primary school in Lagos, the renovation of a section of a community for the disabled in Lagos, as well as donation of cleaning supplies, toiletries, mosquito nets. And our staff and the companies are usually committed to giving back. And this program usually involves fundraising from our staff, and the companies match the amounts raised by staff by 100 to 200% to cover the cost of implementing these programs in our communities. Now, the second component of our CSB, which is the Sahel Scholars Program, was introduced in 2017. And since then, we have organized 8 conferences across 6 universities in Nigeria. We've held 2 virtual conferences, 2020, 2021. This is our 3rd virtual conference. And while we've typically held these conferences in Nigerian universities in the past, last year and this year, we've opened up these virtual conferences to reach an Africa-wide audience. We've had over 3,000 participants at all our conferences since then, engaged 12 scholars for internships at our offices in Lagos and Abuja, and have provided scholarships to 14 students. Now, on this slide are some pictures from our physical conference from 3 universities since 2017, and some of the Sahel team members and also some of the participants. We've held this across various universities, different regions in Nigeria. And on this slide are also pictures from our past scholars during their internships at our offices. And at this point, I would just like to state how delighted we are that you have joined us for this conference today to contribute to the discussion on youth engagement to drive sustainable solutions in the food and agriculture sector, particularly in a changing climate, to also learn from agri-food entrepreneurs across Africa who are exploring innovative business models, and hear about existing resources to support youth action and engagement in the sector. Thank you so much for listening. I would now hand over to Fisayo, our moderator for this conference, for the next item on the agenda.
Thank you so much, Ife, for that introduction. Well detailed, and I'm sure that people are intrigued about the work of Sahel and the purpose of the Sahel Scholars Program. Next, we are delighted to welcome Mr. Olufunsho Shomori, the Regional Principal Officer at African Development Bank, as our keynote speaker. Dr. Olufunsho Shomori leads the African Development Bank's work on climate green investment in 13 countries of Bank's East African region. This includes supporting countries' access to climate finance for implementing their climate actions and mainstreaming climate change in policies and programs. He also leads policy dialogues with national and regional governments on developing policy frameworks for managing economic and social issues, climate change, renewable energy, resilience, and inclusive growth. He is a director at both Profectus Capital Limited and Royal Assets Capital Limited, where he supports SMEs financing, business advisory, and strategy. He is also the president of Mindosphere Incorporation, a leadership and mentoring school for young leaders and entrepreneurs in Africa. Dr. Olufa holds a PhD in International Environmental Policy from Wageningen University and is an alumnus of Executive Education for Bradford, Cambridge, and Oxford Universities in the UK. Dr. Shomari is the recipient of 2022 African Program of Enshawa Fellowship in the US. He will be speaking on the theme of today's event, that is the Climate Food Nexus, African Youth Leading Sustainable Solutions. Over to you, Dr. Olufunsho.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you for the warm introduction. Today I woke up and I was going to send an apology that I won't be able to speak because I woke up with my voice almost gone. The time is 5:32 a.m. here in New York. And but I said, no, this is too important to me. It's too important. I really want to be part of this conversation. So this is not my normal voice. Please bear with me. I'm an African boy in a cold country. And as much as I try to dress warm, I still couldn't beat the cold. But I especially want to thank the leadership of the Sahel Consulting and everyone present here today. I have been a fan of the work that you're doing for the longest time. It's quite amazing how, somehow things just don't happen. We find ourselves in purpose, for purpose. And I think for many years, I have been following the work of the Sahel Consulting and a number of some of the ideas that you're pushing in Nigeria and Africa at large. But I also want to especially thank, one of the co-founders, Ndidi, who has been a tremendous inspiration to many of us. Thank you, guys. I want to keep this. I want to keep this straight to the conversation, and I'm very mindful of time. And that is, I want to thank you for the choice of the topic, because it's both relevant and very timely. And I think, please, for everyone listening to me, I want you to look at three key things from the topic. Nexus, youth, solutions. And I'll be talking about those three key things: the power of Nexus, the fact that there is an entity called the African youth, and what that means, and largely what body of solutions are we talking about here. Before I go further, and I'm very mindful of time, I wanted to put a bit of a few contests out there. And thank you, Deji, for a very brilliant overview, because you've made my job a lot easier. There are three contest issues that we should remind ourselves. The first is the fact that in this continent of about 1.3 billion people, 72% of the population is below the age of 35. Excuse me. And I want you to put that in context. So 7 out of 10 Africans are young people. And in some countries, you'll be shocked to know that they are up to 80%. An example is Somalia. But what does that mean? It means a lot of things, both positive and negative. On the positive side, this is the manpower. This is the age of innovation. This is what we can call a demographic dividend, and by all means, because there are other regions of the world that they wish they are the younger population who are able to drive the next agenda of growth and development in those regions. But negatively, unfortunately, if we do not harness this as a resource, it could be a time bomb. We've seen flashes of that across Africa when it comes to youth unemployment and the likes. The second context, and I think it's very important for us to understand that, is entrepreneurship is beginning to thrive in Africa. It's coming slowly. we've seen tremendous change. When I was growing up as a young teenager, some 30 years ago, it was completely different. What most people did was business. And I want to be very clear that there's a difference between doing business and doing entrepreneurship. But what we've seen, a lot of people now is doing the value addition and annexing the power of youthful innovations and ideas to drive entrepreneurship. But here's another challenge that I've seen with entrepreneurship. Right now, of many issues that we're facing as entrepreneurs, I find a paradox. Number one, those who have money will tell you they cannot find good investment to put their money in. And those who have good business ideas will tell you they cannot find money. And it's very instructive that these two categories of people, and it's a paradox again, are existing and coexisting in the same space, if you like, if the same ecosystem. The one with the money say, I can't find something, a good project, a good, I can't find a good business to put the investment in. And the one with a good idea, good transformative idea on the ground says, I cannot find money. And the mismatch between demand and supply is very, very prevalent in the African context. And we're dealing with it at small scale level, we're dealing with it at a continental level when it comes to the flow of capital to drive entrepreneurship, to move them from startup to scale up. And I think it's very important to move entrepreneurship, particularly agri-based entrepreneurship, from startups to scale-ups. The third context, which I think is very important, is the fact that we are naturally endowed in Africa. And we've got huge potential, both in climatic conditions, even though they're changing rapidly, in land, in fertile grounds, all of it. But that potential has not translated to the results that we need. We've got massive arable land. I work in East Africa, a country like Sudan, Khartoum, Sudan, has got enough arable land to feed the whole of the Middle East. One country in Africa can feed the whole of the Middle East. But we have not translated that potential into actual results. Despite the millions of arable lands that we have, we still spend $40 billion in Africa to import food. And unfortunately, that is quite unfortunate, because we should not be, that should not be happening in the Africa of today. So why, thinking about this contest, and then I want to think about what do we need to do? How do we connect the power of nexuses, climate and food, in a way to lead to solutions that are championed by young people? I'd like to put three ideas on the table. The first one is what I call the power of technology. And I think we can't stretch it enough. You may have heard about it. It's not rocket science anymore. But I want you to understand that if we've got 1.3 billion people to feed, we've got to scale production. But at the same time, we need to be able to make efficient use of resources in order to achieve that quantum of growth. So under a changing climate, we would need to do things differently. Under the level of uncertainty and unpredictability that comes with this climate change, we still have a goal to make sure that we feed 1.3 billion people. And by 2050, and chances are, by the grace of God, that all of us connected here we will still be alive by 2050. And by 2050, we could be talking about over 2 billion people in Africa. So what do we need to do under a constraining condition of climate, yet increasing production of food? And that's a big challenge. But one of the things we need to do is to understand the power that technology can play. And what exactly does technology do in this case? Technology is about the ability to do things differently and reach a faster goal. So we need to do things differently. Number one, when it comes to our planting, when it comes to how we are able to take advantage of climatic data, translate those data into mobile phones for farmers to have real-time access to information, weather information about the onset and the frequency that will lead to of climate data that will lead to planting decisions. And it's very important because agriculture requires real-time, real-life, on-the-go type of decisions. The difference between planting between 24 hours earlier or 24 hours later may have 20 to 30% difference in output or harvest few months down the line. So that real-time information is very important, and the ability to use that technology to provide that information flow, it's very critical. And we've seen this, it's worked. I live in Kenya. I'm resident in Kenya where I work, and I've seen how that it's very important. The AFDB, the African Development Bank, has invested heavily in meteorological data that are converted to usable information that are available on the mobile phone to farmers. Number two, we need a technology framework as well to be able to have information sharing on markets, on seeds, on inputs, on also opportunities, on value chain addition. I say this: every one of us can be in agribusiness, even if you don't have a piece of land, because there are areas that are steps within the value chain that you can be involved in, and what brings you closer, even if you have a normal day job, to that is technology. I'll leave you with example of Twiga Foods in Kenya that is using a B2B framework by removing middlemen and connecting farmers straight to the market, increasing their income, and as well as maintaining quality of food, of produce, even under a changing climate. And please, somebody can type that in the chat, and I want you to take some time to look at it. I won't have time to explain to you what Twiga Food is doing, but you can also look at what the work of Elo Tractor as well. Those are those innovations that are trying to help us to achieve that goal of that nexus. What do we need to do under a restraining environmental condition called climate change, achieving a ramped up production in food, and not just food, healthy food in Africa. The second solution area, and I think it's very important, and I want to say this, excuse me, it's what I call the power of partnership. So the first is the power of technology, the second is the power of partnership. When we grew up, I think when we look at a lot of our grandparents that did farming, they were very comfortable in doing things on their own. If they ever partner with anyone, they partner with the local laborers that worked on their farm. If they didn't do it by themselves. I watched my grandparents, and they were relatively successful, but they could have been more successful if they built a community of partnership. And we have to embrace partnership differently. We need partnership, new strategic partnership around financial assets, particularly moving capital from where it is most abundant and perhaps less needed to where it is most needed and less abundant. Let me tell you this, and around financial partnership, where I stand, the quantum of money that we need globally to achieve the level of development, the level of food security, the level of anything you want is currently available in the global economy. The quantum of money, is it trillions? It is currently available. The biggest challenge is distribution. The biggest challenge is distribution, because where you talk about lack of access in some parts of the world, you talk about excess capital in other parts of the world. And I always like to give this example. There's a country in Europe called Norway. Norway has a population of 5.4 million people. And actually, it's actually about 4.9 million people. 500,000 people are, second generation Norwegians who are immigrants over the years. But this country of 5.4 million people has a sovereign wealth fund of $1.2 trillion. And I want to put that in context. A nation of 5.4 million people has a sovereign wealth fund of $1.2 trillion. Now, and that's the money that is kept for future generation. Now, you're not going to go to Norway to say, come and help me. I have drought, climate change is affecting me. Rather, the only way to get to Norway is to say, let's partner together. And I'm able to give it this return because we're able to push this impact on the ground. And that is something that is very important, that we must understand the power of partnership. And that partnership is based on value exchange. I've been in the US for the last 5.5 weeks. And if there's anything that really blown my mind, it's the power of philanthropic capital in the US. And that philanthropic capital is driving change on the ground, but it's also based on the ability that you can show results. So it's very important for us to understand that we need to look at partnership differently. You may be better off to have 10% of a $10 million company than to have 100% of a $1 million company. And I'm going to repeat that. You may be better off, as a matter of fact, you are way better to have 10% of a $10 million company as opposed to 100% of a $1 million company. You may say, functional, they're just the same value, but yeah, but there's a power of distributed ownership. There's a power of scale. Small is beautiful, but large is better. And if we're going to achieve the quantum of growth under a constraining condition of climate change, we must embrace partnership differently. And please, I want to encourage a lot of young people who are out there. You're better off to build strategic partnership to do things at scale. I'm mindful of time. And the last point, again, I say this, and it's more of an encouragement, is the power of leadership. And that leadership starts with you as a person. And it starts with you understanding the power of your own agency. That there is something called the office of self, of a self. That you as an individual, you occupy an office and you are part of a global dimension of solutions. And that you're never too young to lead. You're never too young to do amazing things. You're never too young to build creativity and innovation to drive change. That change may look small, but if it's progressive, it is a good change. And that leadership is first personal. And it takes an ability to recognize that whatever you need to get to do something good, it's already in you. You're not going to do it when you get to a higher level of office or position. In this current office of yourself, you have a power rooted in your agency, and your agency is a power to do and power to act. And so it's very important that when we begin to aggregate our individual leadership towards the solutions that we want to see on the ground, we are able to scale rapidly, but we're able to also create a powerful snowball effect and a powerful ripple effect as well. And it's very important that we're able to constantly encourage leadership in every one of us, that at any space that you find yourself, there is something you can do. Whatever lead idea that you have, it may not even be fully tested yet. Take it upon yourself to test it. If it can improve one person's life, if it can improve a family's life, if it can improve a community's life, that is you in your office as a leader. You don't need to have a title. You don't need to have a position, status. You don't need to even have a global accolades in a way, but you're conscious of who you are as a leader. And when you do that as a person, through servant leadership, and another person does that, collectively together, we're able to build that quantum solutions that we need. For the longest, we left this thing called leadership for it, and that is not. Every one of us has a role to play. As an individual, I have taken it upon myself to use part of my income into a particular purse, and then use it to support small agri-entrepreneurs around me. I've lost money, but I've also seen good transformation on the ground. And I've seen particularly businesses owned and managed by women making impact on the ground, making solid impact on the ground. There's a young lady that runs an agri-tech business in Kenya. It's called Grow Agric. And please, Grow Agric. And basically, she's targeting female poultry farmers, helping them to aggregate around the input level, and as a collective voice, help them to get prices, competitive prices of input assets of veterinary services, good training, and ultimately help them to aggregate on the chicken production as long as you achieve 1.2 kg and get an off-taker. And the income level of these female poultry farmers are increasing massively within a relatively short period of time. Just an individual lady who said it's possible. And that is something that I want to leave you with. Thank you, everyone. Thank you again for the leadership. Even I can't see all of you, but in the eyes of my mind, I see you and I see the great things that you're doing. You're encouraged, but I also want you to know that you are doing the right thing. And we together, collectively, we are going to be the solutions for our continent. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Olufunso, for that profound keynote address. And thank you for the insights that you've shared. We cannot agree more that the African youth indeed has an important role to play in leading and driving sustainable food system solutions in the changing climate. I have taken out key takeaways from your speech. The first one is the importance of leveraging technology to increase efficiency at both production, processing, and distribution stages, to build strategic partnerships for scaling businesses and initiatives, and finally, the power of leadership. So as Dr. Olufunso said, leadership starts with you, and understanding of your agency and the ability to contribute to change and innovative solutions begin with you. We have a few questions in the chat box. I'm going to read out the first one. So the first one says, EU spends 36% of their budget on CAP, and it has been a successful story year on year as regards food security in European Union. To be candid, I have not been able to feel the impact of African Development Bank on food security in Nigeria. My question is that what exactly is the problem with our institutions in Africa in coming up with successful and impactful stories like what we are experiencing in Europe?
Can I answer that, or do you want to read the questions?
Yeah, that's the only question I can see so far.
Okay, thank you, Fisayemi. I think many people on this platform probably will not agree with you that they have not seen the impact of African Development Bank. And let me say this, and I want to say this proudly. There are many multilateral development banks, there are many development finance institutions working on African and African-related issues. I think there are very few of them that have taken agriculture and agribusiness to the height that AFDB has taken it. Thanks to the very strong leadership of the bank, through our President Adeshina, but also through the entire senior management, also looking at why in a continent where the largest workforce is in that sector, we've seen how investment in that sector has been neglected for many years. But also, I want you to understand, I don't want us to limit agriculture to just planting and farming. Think about all of those integrated infrastructure that needs to be around it. It's one thing to be able to produce, but if you cannot move that on a road to the market, why do you invest so much in the production if you cannot reach the market? If you cannot provide infrastructure around to manage post-harvest losses, then why do you allow 40%, up to 40% of your total production to be wasted away? No, so we must understand that there's a whole range of infrastructure around agribusiness and agriculture that you may not see, AFDB giving seed to everybody. But whether it's the special processing zones, whether it's agricultural clusters, whether it's building this kind of youth-based entrepreneurship, the bank has been very much involved. Now, there's also a question about the model that Europe uses. And if that is the way that we have to use, that's the path we have to follow in Africa. I'm afraid, maybe not. There is a place of the power of subsidies. And I think to a large extent, many African countries, they do that in their own way through capital expenditures for the ministries, for the agencies that are providing research information. But there is an opportunity to follow the path where you build an enabling environment for private sector investment to flow into agribusiness and catalyze the economic growth that you see. That is possible. We've seen that in Asia. We've seen that in some other Latin America. And that is a model that can absolutely work in Africa. The role that AFDB plays and all the development partners and even Sahel Consulting is to begin to look at what are the new frontiers of opportunities and how do we quickly build the systems that we need to capture these new frontiers of opportunities. And that's what we're pushing for, new partnership, the use of technologies and the likes. So I'll keep it here, but I'm happy to have anyone contribute as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your response. And we have a few more questions, but because of time, we'll have to proceed with the program. So if you've sent in your questions via direct message to me, please resend it to everybody on the platform so that some of our other team members or Dr. Olufunshia himself can respond to you through the chat box. Thank you. We'll now proceed to the first panel discussion where we'll critically examine how youth engagement in climate-smart agriculture can drive sustainable solutions in the landscape. We've assembled an astounding group of panelists to speak on the theme, Youth Engagement in Climate-Smart Agriculture to Drive Sustainable Solutions. I would hand over to the moderator of this session in person of Tosin Ojo, who is a Vice President Investment at Sahel Capital. She will be introducing all the panelists before we dive right in. In the meantime, please remember to send in your questions to the designated Q&A through the chat box, not direct messages to me. There are other officers that would answer your questions. So please throw it open on the chat box. Thank you. Over to you, Tosin.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you, Folake, for that introduction. So we're going straight to our first panel, youth engagement in climate smart agriculture. And I have on this panel, joining me to explore this topic and to dive right in, Dominic Nyasalu, who is National Coordinator for Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network. And in Malawi, Dominic is the current National Coordinator of the Malawi National Youth Network on Climate Change, as I've said. He's passionate about mobilizing young people on system change through evidence-based advocacy in areas around agroecology, climate and environmental justice, and also on green entrepreneurship. Welcome, Dominic, to the panel. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you so much.
Then the second panelist is Jasper Baturain Mwesigwa. Please pardon me if I mispronounced your name in any way. Is the food security analyst for Food and Agriculture Organization, focusing on Nigeria. He's currently based in Northeast Nigeria. He has an MSc and Corp Science and BSc from Agriculture from Makerere University in Uganda. And he has worked in East Africa and as well in Nigeria right now for the Food and Agriculture Organization. He's an all-round professional in agricultural research, development, agrometeorology, climate change, climate smart agriculture, and food security analysis. He started his career at the National Agricultural Research Organization in Uganda and had worked with Intergovernmental Authority on Development Climate Protection before moving to FAO in November 2020. So welcome, Jasper, to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Tosin.
Okay. All right. So today we are looking at youth engagement in climate smart agriculture to drive sustainable solutions. We've heard from the keynote speaker how now more than ever, given the fact that youth, the median age for most African countries is probably 18, 19, given that on the average, youth make up a predominant population of the African continent, and the challenge we are facing in agriculture from climate change, how we need to start driving engagement in sustainable practices. Now, I would start by discussing some of the observations that we've been seeing in the African continent around climate change and the impact on the agriculture systems. So, for example, there's another warning by the National Geographic that there's an historic drought that is coming in the Horn of Africa. That region is facing its third consecutive below average rainfall season since late 2020. We are seeing a lot of climate-related risk, excess flooding, drought, as I've mentioned, and that this has even increased a lot of social tension amongst the citizens of many African countries, especially in rural areas. There's also a lot of huge rural-urban migration as people are moving to find increasingly constrained resources. According to the FAO, global emissions due to agriculture is about 9.3 billion tons of CO2 equivalents. In Africa, land use related emissions and agriculture and also from agricultural activity has increased by about 38% between 2000 and 2018. So there's real problem. There's real problem that the adverse climate change is affecting food security in Africa. And in Africa, that has about 80% of its food produced by smallholder farmers. I think the first thing we need to start looking at, and I will start with you, Jasper, based on your work in Northeast Nigeria and what you're saying, what are the more recent climate-related threats that we should be paying attention to? What's the FAO seeing right now that may not necessarily be out there? What are those more recent patterns that we should be paying attention to, and why we should be paying attention to them? I think we can take it from there.
Okay, thank you so much, Tosin. I'll begin with what we are seeing globally. Maybe not globally, let's concentrate on Africa, on our continent. So on the African continent, the climate is becoming a threat. And climate becomes a threat when we receive too little or too much. When we receive too little, we end up having droughts. When we receive too much, then we have floods. Both threats are catastrophic in nature. In East Africa, for example, there are some reports indicating that you would need so many seasons to recover if you have had severe impacts of drought. If drought has impacted rangelands, grazing areas, livelihoods of pastors, you would need several seasons to recover. And droughts in East Africa have been recurring so many times. The older scholars or the older people here may know that in 1980s, early 1980s, 84, 83, 84, 85, there was a drought in the Horn of Africa that affected mostly Sudan and parts of Ethiopia. And up to now, it is still called the Great Drought because it caused the Great Famine of Sudan. Long after that, in the early 2000s, late 2000s, from 2008, 2009, 2010, and 11, there was another severe drought in East Africa, and reports indicate that actually this led to death of about 260,000 people in Somalia. Then later in 2016, 2017, there was another drought that occurred in East Africa across the region, Uganda, Tanzania, everywhere, Ethiopia. And according to meteorologists, the 2016-2017 drought impacts were as severe as those seen in the 2010-2011 drought. Again, so many people were left food insecure during that drought. And now, right now, we are talking about the fourth consecutive drought season happening again in our region. Already some places like in Somalia, there are people who are in catastrophe. You know, catastrophic food insecurity means that people no longer have any livelihood to run into. They can no longer cook. So they are tending to the serious impacts of food insecurity, which one of them is acute malnutrition, then followed by death. Okay, so too little or too much. Of course, some of the past speakers talked about the flooding in Madagascar a few years ago, in Malawi, in Zimbabwe, the current flooding happening in Southern Africa, and so on. Then there are also cyclones. Cyclones mostly happen in oceans, but the impacts are felt on land. The cyclones suck a lot of energy, a lot of moisture, and end up causing extensive flooding in some areas that are affected by that atmospheric condition. Now, all these affect our livelihoods, they affect agriculture in one way or the other. Recently, we have also noted that there has been an increase in outbreaks of pests and diseases. Some are new, others are old. And there is a link between climate change and the outbreak of these diseases and pests. For example, if we go back to East Africa, between 2019 and just recently, there was an invasion of locust, the desert locust. You know, in some countries in East Africa, this invasion had not occurred for over 25, 40, even 70 years. But we have seen it. And none of us here knew that in our lifetime we would witness such an invasion. It actually reached a level of being called a plague. And a plague, there were those things we used to learn about in our religious books. You know, those biblical stories, those of you who are Christians, talking about plagues. We didn't know this would happen in our lifetime, but they are happening. So climate change has changed and affected our livelihoods so much that the frequencies of the negative events is increasing, and so does their magnitude. Magnitude is increasing. The droughts are becoming severer, the floods are becoming worse, and the frequency is also increasing. Now, coming back home in Nigeria, there are so many shocks, including climate, that compound each other and bring about food insecurity. Currently in Nigeria, we have an estimated 14.5 million people who are food insecure, and in this category, this is the category of people that need some level of assistance for them to survive. And this number is projected actually to grow to 19.5 million people in the next 2 months if nothing changes.
Okay.
Across West Africa and Sahel, the number is projected to be about 38.3 million people who will need food assistance and some sort of livelihood interventions in between July and August because of so many factors, including climate. So it's becoming very often and obvious that anytime these climate events, negative climatic events, are knocking at our doors every day, and every day. Okay.
Thank you.
And
sorry, I thought you were going to put possibly that, but you can go on if you wanted to round up quickly.
Yes. So I wanted to say that as young people, because I've been told that the majority of the listeners are young people, we need to. And we know that the young people have access to technology, have access to information, have access to many things that our ancestors and our mothers and fathers didn't have. Unfortunately, also it's known that the average age of a successful farmer is 60 years globally. A successful farmer, one who doesn't produce only for food, one who produces for food, for industry, for export, for processing, and so on, is about 60 years of age. But our previous speaker told us that 70-something% of the African continent are below 35. So I think this is to encourage you to pick up from where our ancestors left us, meet these growing challenges, to step up, get engaged, and take over the agriculture sector. Thank you very much. Let me pause from there.
Thank you very much, Jasper, for that very detailed walk through the impact of climate change on the African continent specifically. So you touched on 3 things: drought, floods, pests, and a lot of examples. Now, these things sound like really big problems, right? They are the things that when you hear these kind of problems, you think, okay, government should solve them, right? And there's all the pledges by the various governments on tackling climate change and targets to move to net zero by 2050 by many governments. So I'll come to you, Dominic. But leaving that aside and saying that on a micro level, for the young people, for all of us on this call, what are those climate smart practices that we should be engaging in? That so what in line of your work, what are those, as they say it, low-hanging fruits that can be put in place, can be adopted on a micro level for people working in agriculture? I think that's one. And then the B part to that question really is, how are youth crucial in driving this adoption, the adoption of these climate smart agricultural practices to improve the resilience of the food ecosystems? How crucial are young people in doing this? And if you have very practical examples of what you've seen in your work, please, we'll be happy to learn from that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our moderator. I'm happy to be part of this conversation. Just to emphasize that we are a network that is working with the youth to making sure that the youth are part and parcel of the decision-making processes, but also at the center of each and every investment that is being made within the agricultural sector. But also we believe that as young people, I think we have the solutions because we are creative and we are there, but also the absence of various technological opportunities places us an opportunity in terms of how we conduct our business. Maybe before I give out some of the key issues that we are doing as young people here in Malawi, I just wanted to emphasize on the point that even the keynote speaker talked about the issues of population. I think he talked about the population boom in terms of Africa by 2050, that Africa will have to reach 2.5 billion people. And, from that perspective, maybe the question is that who is going to feed this population boom? And being the youthful population, which means that we have the solution to making sure that we feed the population that we anticipate at the end of the day. So as a network, we recognize the threats that climate change is posing on the agricultural sector, but also we recognize the role of young people actually in terms of making sure that they are part and parcel of the agenda. We have had some challenges in terms of how are the policies within the agriculture sector attractive to the youth, because we have seen that in our own context that the youth they were not having the level of interest in the agriculture sector. They were not able to invest their time in the agriculture sector because their perception was that maybe the sector is for the old people, and then our thinking or our mindset was based on collar job kind of hunting. But I think we have seen that, for the past 5 years, most of young people now are able to realize that I think agriculture as a sector has the potential actually to even employ most of the youth that are graduating. So as a network, we have taken that advantage to bring all the youth together and being able to use climate smart agriculture as an approach that can at least address issues of climate change, but also can address issues of environmental degradation, but also being able to actually increase productivity, but on the other hand as well, being able to employ young people as well. So one of the things that we are doing to making sure that the young people are able to understand that is the general awareness in terms of how climate change is affecting the agricultural sector. the general awareness. And the second approach that we are using is that we have come up with like eco agents, those young people who are just graduating, and then we have identified them, and then we're able to build the capacity so that at the end of the day, they become change agents as far as linking, climate change impact to the agricultural sector that we're talking about. And then we have built them with skills, various skills in terms of the leadership, but also able to appreciate the global trends as far as policy is concerned, but also the local strategies and policies that are there. And they're able even to interrogate in terms of what type of investment relevance for the youth, what are the policies that can drive the youth interest as far as promoting climate smart agriculture is concerned. And also most importantly, I think from all the presenters or the speakers, they have consistently talked about the use of technology as one of the key driver of accelerating, the adoption of climate smart agriculture. So what we are doing is that we have identified some university students, especially those from the natural resources and then the agriculture sector that we're working with. So what we are doing is that we are more or less like doing research experiment, but I think we have opened up like smart farms, and in those smart farms, we are mobilizing the students from various universities, especially those who have the agricultural background, but also the natural resources. So what we are doing is that we are able to actually, it's just a basic and very simple approach that we're using. So anything that these students are able to learn within their environmental setup, like in schools, in class, how do we make sure that they translate it into a very practical kind of an approach? But we are now using, smart equipment like, sensors, but also like soil probes, to making sure that we are able to, for example, determine the soil health before we are engaging into the adoption and accelerating the information around that. So basically, these are the tools, the sensors that are used to generate the information to give us the right information for example, soil pH, the soil moisture, soil fertility, and other elements. And then it is important that we understand the nature of the soil that we have as young people. And then how are we able to analyze so that at the end of the day, we give the timely advisory services to farmers. So we are using these technologies to generate evidence and to generate data that can be used in terms of timely decision-making processes to the smallholder farmers. So these university students, they are able also to actually they're also able to actually identify like communities or smallholder farmers that maybe perhaps they don't even have an opportunity to actually do an opportunity maybe to those such smart technologies. So I think they are making some linkages between the students and then smallholder farmers. So the students are providing timely smart information to those smallholder farmers in terms of for them to be able to make timely decisions in terms of what is supposed to be done based on analysis of that particular kind of their farms. So these are some of the issues that they have also attracted the youth to be able to use those sensors to generate the data, and also to use those smart technologies because that's what the youth they are actually fond of using. So I think it's working, and currently we have managed to reach about 500 farmers, especially these are young people that are engaged into the climate smart agriculture, and we are using this tool just to making sure that we actually motivate them as a way of accelerating and promotion of climate smart agriculture adoption in our country.
Thank you, Dominic. I just want to push a bit on some of the areas you've touched on, and I'm conscious of time. I think we probably have maybe about 5 minutes, roughly, maybe 5 to 10 minutes more. Now, to push a little bit, so I think a lot of times when we talk about climate smart agriculture, there are two layers. We can talk about the use of technology and all the sensors and predictive technologies on weather, on soil, and all of those things. But there are still some low-hanging fruits that, you know, we need to start incentivizing smallholder farmers who are like maybe 33 million on the African continent and contribute about 80% of our food, for them to start adopting. I'm going to mention a few specifically. An example is stopping bush burning, which is a very common practice among smallholder farmers in Africa, as bush burning is one of the biggest contributor to direct carbon in the atmosphere. Now, that's the common practice in Africa. There's adoption of no-till farming, which according to the FAO can reduce carbon emission by up to 30% versus tilling. And there is just stopping the use of inorganic fertilizers. And all they need to do really is, it's a bit more intense, but they'll have to use organic fertilizers and then do mixed cropping and all of those things. Now, are you seeing the farmers you're working with, are you seeing them open to adopt this? What can we do to encourage the use, to support them to adopt some of these low-hanging fruits, not so driven by big technology, but can contribute strongly to reducing the impact of climate change on the agricultural ecosystem?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important, especially the issues that you have raised. But I think what we have noticed is that as much as we are trying to mobilize the youth to be change agents and being able to reach out to rural farmers, but I think the problem is the capacity to understand the approach in the context of changing climate. How do we make sure that we build more capacity for our young people, basically on those approaches that we are talking about, so that at the end of the day, then we are able to integrate all those issues within the value chain as far as the extension services is concerned. I think the other challenge that we're facing is that if you look at the policy provision, they're not coherent. You see that within the water sector, the policy is saying this, and then the agriculture policy is saying that. So how are we making sure that even the information that we are giving to the farmers are coherent and then in tandem with the available policies? I think that's very, very important. And currently we have that kind of a change whereby the policies are not talking to each other as far as maybe the policies related to water, the policy related to land, the policy related to agriculture, and this all policy related to environment. So maybe one way of doing that to making sure that we actually push for coherence in terms of our policies, so that at least you should have that kind of a holistic approach in addressing some of these issues. And when we do that, then in terms of information, we should be able actually to package information in a way that are not contradicting. And secondly, I think it's the same issues of technology that we're talking about. Currently, we are also trying to making sure that through a smartphone, we're able to send information, raise awareness about whatsoever that we're doing within the climate smart agriculture arena. And then we are also able to use the text messages, so that at the end of the day, the farmers are aware about what is those approaches and practices are. But I think the ability for us to be able to generate rightful information at the right time, it is very challenged on the way that I think our policies are not coherent. But I think that the challenge is that as much as we are targeting the youth, but I think the big challenge that we are facing is that the majority of the youth, they don't own land, they don't have land, which means that in terms of decision making, they are limited. They cannot make strategic decisions on their land because they don't own land. That's one of the challenges that also we are facing. So one way of making sure is that within the local, for the youth to be able also to own land, so that at least they should be able to decide what is important or what practices they can embrace where they are participating into these approaches. I think those are some of the two main issues that I think is hindering our project, but also as far as upscaling and adopting of the practices that you mentioned about our concern.
Yeah, thank you, Dominic. I will end with the last question to Jasper on what you have mentioned. So policy, as at the FAO level, working in country, how are you how is FAO working with government, regional government, local government to begin to put in proper policies that make climate smart agriculture attractive to smallholder farmers, what are to put in incentives and all of those things so that those low-hanging fruits, even advanced technology can be adopted. Maybe in 1 minute, if you can quickly summarize for us, we've really run out of time.
Okay, thank you so much, Tosin. Like you rightly said, FAO works closely with government, and FAO being a technical agency of the UN, its main mandate is to build the capacity of government agencies so that they can deliver on the different mandates in the country. For a long time, FAO has been promoting climate smart agriculture practices through many interventions. One of them is the Farmer Field School technology, which has been, FAO working closely with farmers and promoting some technologies, including agronomic and also climate-related technologies. But recently, I think earlier this year, we have had a formal discussion, and we are opening a formal engagement with the NIMET, the Nigerian Meteorological Authority. We are engaging them to find a way of incorporating all our interventions, incorporating climate information in all our interventions. So the NIMET produces climate information, and this information is interpreted for the different sectors, and then it's transmitted or disseminated to the respective sectors without losing, in climate science, they call it decay, without decay. So the information must be relevant. And then this information is supposed to support strategic planning. Strategic planning is things like when to plant, how to plant, where to plant, and other things around that. That's strategic. And this is the kind of information that will be coming from NIMET. So how long is the season going to be? When is it starting? When is it ending? How much water do we expect? And so on. So farmers will use this information to make those strategic decisions. When should we plant? What should we plant? Where? And so on. And then as the season progresses, NIMET will also be giving us monthly or 10-day updates. And these updates, again, are related to the respective sectors to make some tactical decisions, quick decisions that a farmer needs to make. First, avoid any losses. If, for example, there's going to be a drought, and this drought is so extensive and crops are bound to dry up, then a farmer doesn't have to invest more in fertilizer application, in weeding, and so on. They should just abandon the field. That's tactical. Or if the rain is going to be favorable, then maybe this is the right time to apply a fertilizer or to weed or to leave the crop to flower and so on. So this engagement is going to be mutual, and we think that with the different experiences and skills and examples from the entire world that we have in climate smart agriculture, we will bring this information together, integrate it with the climate information from NIMET, and build the capacity of households, agricultural livelihoods, and those relying on agriculture, agribusinesses to utilize this information for better livelihoods. Thank you, Tosin.
Thank you very much, Jasper, and thank you, Dominic. I think that brings us to a nice wrap up. In terms of recap, we've talked about just examining the trend and the data around climate change, the impact of climate change in Africa, flood, excess drought, and longer protracted drought, the impact on on food security, famine in some East African countries, even causing social unrest in West Africa countries like in Nigeria. We looked at that. We looked at how in Malawi youth are encouraged from school to work with farmers through the network that Dominic oversees, to work with farmers and help them adopt certain climate smart technologies around using data to predict soil weather patterns and all of that. And we've looked at how policy constraints are affecting the adoption of some of the very low-hanging fruit around no bush burning, no tilling, use of fertilizers and all of that. And generally, I think it's a wake-up call to all of us. It is clear that these are big problems. These are big global problems, but we need multi-pronged approach to tackle them. As it's being tackled at government level, it needs to be tackled at micro level, and youths are encouraged to pick different parts of this problem and solve and work with the smallholder farmers who would make up the food basket in Africa. So thank you again for this conversation. I saw one or two people raise up hands to ask questions. Unfortunately, we're really out of time. I will not be able to take questions. However, some of the questions on the chat box have been answered. Those that have not been answered, please, Dominic and Jasper, if you are around for a few more minutes, you can please engage some of our participants on the chat box to answer some of the questions that might be relevant to you. And that brings us to the end of this first panel. Thank you, everyone, for listening and for engaging as you have done on the chat. I'm seeing a lot of questions and conversations. Please keep the conversations ongoing. And over to you, Fisayo.
Thank you so much to the panelists and the moderator for that excellent discussion. We also appreciate the participants for your participation. I've been seeing different conversations going on the chat box. We appreciate your engagement. We mentioned earlier, or Ife mentioned earlier during her presentation, that we have supported young scholars in the past, and they've had the opportunity to work with us via internship at Sahel and Nourishing Africa. We've also offered scholarships to these scholars, and we have a few of them in the room today, and they will be sharing with us briefly their experiences. At this time, I'd like to first call on Toyin Oyasowo to share her experience as a Sahel scholar. Over to you, Toyin.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Toyin, we can hear you. You can as well turn on your video.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Oluwatoyin Oyashowo, a 500 level student of Animal Nutrition Department of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. I was to be a Sahel scholar in the year 2021.
Toyin, your network is dragging. Maybe you want to try a better location.
Sahel Capital Company, situated at Lekki, very interesting experience. Hear me now? My experience, as I was saying earlier.
Yes, it's clear now. Go ahead, please. Okay, so Toyin, while you fix your network issues, can you hear me? Hello, Toyin.
Sahel interest. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, Toyin. So I would like you to take some time to fix your network issues so that we can call on the next caller while you do so. Wisdom Ezechi, can you please go ahead?
Okay.
My name is Ezechi Wisdom Ifeanyi. I'm a graduate of agronomy from Michael Okwa University of Agriculture, Umudike, Abia State in Nigeria. I'm a 2019 Sahel Scholar and currently a research intern with Sahel Consulting Agriculture Nutrition Limited. Speaking on my experience as a Sahel Scholar is something I'm always happy and excited to do because it refreshes a lifetime experience and shifts in mindsets, which I would love every African youth to hear and be spurred to action. Prior to me being a Sahel Scholar, I almost lost interest in agriculture, that's the truth. Although I had a passion, but that was because of the archaic learning curriculum I was subjected to in my school, where a 400 level agricultural student is being subjected to learning methodologies of hoe and cutlass. But during my penultimate year in school, when I was choosing to be a Sahel Scholar, there was a change in my mindset, which changed my horizon and the way I think about agriculture. I saw the various efforts and initiatives in agricultural landscape, and I came to realize that agriculture is beyond hoe and cutlass. Agriculture has evolved from hoe and cutlass methodologies used in teaching students to agribusiness etiquette being discussed in conference rooms, leveraging technology and innovations, as well as value chain exports. In fact, when I came back to my school as a Sahel Scholar, because of the hunger and the passion, I formed a club of agri enthusiasts. And I mandated that each and every one of us must have a backyard farm, or each of us must have more like a home garden. And I empowered them with initiatives and the knowledge, and all of them caught the fire. So we went into action, and the first project we had in 2020 during the lockdown was a biogas project in my school. And because of the experiences we had in using the biogas experiences and everything, pertaining to the home garden as well, in 2020, lockdown ending, we won a backyard farm challenge and we are given a grant. And with that grant, I was able to establish a farm, and that was a fish farm. And through the fish farm, I leveraged innovation whereby for my fish farm, effluence from my fish farm, I used it to establish a vegetable farm. So nothing is a waste. From the water from my fish farm, I use it to irrigate my vegetable farm. I identify a value chain in my community whereby everyone, all the elderly, they're looking for curcumin powder. I say, why can't I do this as a youth in agriculture? I invested in turmeric farming, and I was able to establish a turmeric farm, and I produced curcumin powder by myself, and I branded it by myself. So one thing I never shied away was to be ashamed of being called a farmer or youth in agriculture. In 2021, during my final year, I told my supervisor, Prof, look, my projects can't end in your bookshelf or end in paper and pen. How can I monetize this to appreciate it as a youth in agriculture? The experience I got changed my mindset to have an agribusiness mindset. So I told him that I need to identify a particular value chain to work on as an undergraduate and final year student, and we chose orange flesh sweet potato. And at the end of the project, I defended it, and I decided to run an economic analysis bordering that orange flesh sweet potato. And at the end of the day, I was able to export orange flesh sweet potato as an undergraduate from Abia State to Ogun State and Lagos State. And at the end, I appreciated that. So being a Sahel Scholar has broadened my knowledge and my experience and my mindset to see agriculture as a business and not just ordinary of what I used to be known for it. So at the end of the day, I have to brand myself and pride myself as a youth in agriculture, even in my social media platform. So if a medical student comes to tell me as a doctor that without medicine, patients can't live, I will boldly tell the person as a youth in agriculture that food is medicine. So I want to end by encouraging my fellow African youth. See, with this statement from my role model, Dr. Akiwumi Adesina, he said that the future millionaires and the billionaires are not going to come from the oil and gas. The future millionaires and the billionaires are going to come from African youths like you and I, who have the passion and who can see agriculture as a business. So come on board to the billionaires mindset and come on board to the billionaire sector. Let's change the narrative and walk the talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Wisdom, for that experience that you shared. So interesting to hear about how much your orientation has changed through the opportunity you had with the Sahel Scholars program. We will proceed with the event by going on to the next panel session. I'm still giving Toyin more time to fix her network. After the second panel discussion, we will invite her back to share experience. We will be discussing lessons from African youth exploring innovative business models in the agri-food sector in a changing climate. And Aisha Adeja, a manager at Sahel Consulting, will be moderating this panel discussion. Over to you, Aisha.
Thank you very much, Desire, and thank you very much, Wisdom, for that electrifying testimony. We're very happy to have you. So our second panel discussion is on lessons from African youth exploring innovative business models in the agri-food sector. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first panelist, Mr. Bumi Fagbemi. He is the founder and CEO of BioLoop, which is a Nigerian biorefinery upcycling organic waste. But prior to founding BioLoop, Bumi worked as a consultant at Sahel Consulting, where he supported the implementation of agricultural development projects. Mr. Fagbemi holds a BA from the University of Pennsylvania, majoring in politics, philosophy, and economics with a minor in French. Welcome, Mr. Bumi.
Hi, Aisha. Just let me know if you can hear me and see me well.
Absolutely, loud and clear. Can hear you, can see you. Thank you. I would also like to introduce our next panelist, Nkiru Obarike. And Nkiru is the co-founder, co-CEO of Enviro Grow Farms, a company she created to produce high-end vegetables for the Nigerian market. She has over 20 years of working experience, with a decade of that experience at ExxonMobil as a project and design engineer. And she was also a project manager for infrastructure development projects in Nigeria, United States, Singapore, and France. Welcome, Nkiru. So happy to have you.
Thank you very much, Aisha. I hope you can hear me well.
I can hear you well, and I can see you very well.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to start with a short question, and in 2 minutes each, I would start with Bomi. We would like you to kindly explain to us the inspiration behind your company and how it is addressing the needs of people and planet. 2 minutes, please, Mr. Bomi. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Aisha. So happy to be here. Thank you to Sahel. So what we do at BioLoop is we upcycle organic waste. And to do that, we leverage an insect, the black soldier fly larva. The black soldier fly larva is very efficient at converting organic matter into its own body mass. And as well, we get this residue from it that's really, really, really good organic fertilizer. So the actual inspiration came from actually while I was working at Sahel. I always wanted to go into agriculture in some respects, even though, I didn't study agriculture in school, I didn't do anything like that. But I just felt, if we're looking at economic development, it's so important that, African countries can produce their own food and are self-sufficient. So there was a poultry study we did at Sahel, and, finding out that 70% of the cost of feed of running a poultry farm come from feed alone. So, we're importing soy, we're importing maize, and for animals, but these are things that human beings can eat as well. So in a country where malnutrition is an issue, diverting these resources to animals, made me a bit uncomfortable. So I really wanted to provide a solution to that, providing low-cost agricultural inputs in the form of protein and fertilizer that farmers can use that is also climate sensitive. So, for example, I think that's one of our biggest values, zero waste, and also being innovative in terms of using climate smart technology. So our facility is off grid, it runs on solar energy, and the thing with farming insects is that you can farm very densely in a small area. So, and there's no soil erosion and things like that. So for providing low-cost agriculture inputs is important as well. And I think the past, year and a half has really kind of cemented that for me. Looking at, the impacts of the war in Russia on the cost of fertilizer and food prices globally. And then as well, just in general, just the rising cost of food, rising insecurity and things like that due to climate change. So this is like, to me, was just finding a way to combat that in a way that's not only economically sustainable, but also, you know, environmentally sustainable.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bumi, for that short summary. So Nkiru, over to you. Also the inspiration behind your company and how it is addressing the needs of people and climate. Nkiru, you're on mute.
Sorry, I didn't know you muted me back. I used to work for ExxonMobil before I left to do my master's in Canada. So around the time I was finishing my master's, my business partner and I, she was just completing her own master's at Harvard, and we're thinking about what to do. We wanted to come back to Nigeria to give back, how to work. And one of the things we found out was that was when the big supermarkets like ShopRite and Spar were setting up, and they were having an issue with vegetables. Some of those vegetables they had, then they were bringing in from South Africa, they were bringing in from Spain, they were bringing in from Italy. And we felt we had the best environments or environment to grow these things. There was no need for it to be imported. But the thing that we needed technology to be able to do that. So we came back and we set up a greenhouse farm in Ekpe. We have about 23 acres of farmland in Ekpe, and we set up the largest freestanding greenhouse then in Lagos State, about half a hectare, using Dutch technology. So we started growing the peppers, some vegetables, and some of these things, if you like, then they could only come up from the north in very temperate regions from Jos. And some periods they were off season, so you couldn't really get them in the shops, and they had to substitute with imports. But because we use irrigation, we use climate control, we had fans to cool the place when it was hot, we were able to grow these things in greenhouse. And after we also expanded to growing things like sweet corn, which were never grown in the country, we're now growing them in the open field, substituting for all those imported ones that they bring in cans. So that is what we've been doing, growing them now in about the 8-hectare farm and supplying to the big supermarkets and doing some retail supplies too.
Amazing, thank you very much. And going back to what our keynote speaker actually said, we have to be able to be self-sufficient. And what I'm seeing is both of our panelists identified a gap in the food ecosystem and then designed a solution for that. So we have a lot of young entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs in the room today, and their ears are peeled to listen to certain challenges and ways forward in setting up agribusinesses. So my first question is to Bomi. Can you tell us a little bit about specific challenges that you have faced in your business and how you've been able to solve them?
Hi, I'd say the first one is, one, if you're doing anything innovative or new, it's risky because one, people don't understand it. So, and then there's also the added factor of being young, and as it's been said, young people don't have a lot of money or a lot of land, and these are the things you need to do to farm or to do any kind of agribusiness on any meaningful scale. So accessing those things was probably the biggest factor. The next one was also hiring, because what we're doing isn't really what people are learning in school. So we have to finding specialists, finding specialists, consultants, becoming an expert yourself. You have to be ready to do that. And also training, you have to invest in people, because, that might be changing a little bit these days. But when I first started BioLoop and conceiving of BioLoop, there wasn't really much in the way of people researching Black soldier fly, especially in Nigeria. It's changing a bit more, but still a long way to go. And another challenge, I guess, was we started, during the pandemic. So that was, a very, very difficult time just in general. So getting through that, just staying resilient. And I think things that really have helped, just the commitment to values like zero waste and being climate smart, so like I mentioned, we're off grid and we use solar, and that a lot of people from the start, when we would start pitching and looking for investors, they thought, this is, it's great you care about the environment, but, let's talk numbers. But the reality is things like that, in the long run, they help you save money. The price of diesel has gone up dramatically in the past year in Nigeria, but, our running costs haven't changed. So things like that really, looking to the future and make you a lot more resilient to any kind of shocks.
Thank you very much, Bumi. You had mentioned finding the right talent, which is a problem that seems to be ever so present. But then, of course, you did say that you have to be able to be ready to groom your talent as you go along. But can you please say a little bit about how you have been able to solve the issue of access to finance and possibly land?
I wish I had the perfect solution, but it was really just being very aggressive, and you have to believe in anybody's ready to believe in you at the beginning. So I wouldn't say I've properly solved all of these things, because as a young business, as a startup, we're still looking to grow and expand. But I would say finding people that really believe in your vision, as opposed to, because if they don't believe in your vision, and if your visions are opposed, then you're going to struggle in the future with your investors. So finding investors who are aligned with your vision. With land is a bit more difficult, but it comes down to the same thing. You need to have stakeholders who, beyond just the return they're getting, who care also about the impact that your business has, and they have to believe in that. And so for BioLoop, we started with investment from angels, and also the land we got it leased at very favorable terms. So honestly, we were very fortunate and lucky in this aspect, and we probably didn't struggle as much as most firms will struggle. But as we're looking to expand now, we're hitting the same bottlenecks, and there's a bit of an issue with having people who don't really understand agriculture. That's that I think has been the biggest detriment. Most of the people who have the capital don't really understand agriculture, or they don't care. They're looking at fintech investments. They're looking at, they're trying to find the next flutter wave, etc. But the thing is, if you look at the biggest companies in the world, a lot of them are. Let's look at Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. Like, they're media companies. But agriculture is always going to be a bigger market than media. So we need to look at it that way. Tesla is, a climate smart country. It's a climate smart company. It's a clean tech company. People don't see it that way, but there's a lot of room for growth, and we need to do that here as well in Nigeria. As energy costs keep rising, it's the only way we're going to get any kind of meaningful development.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hear you loud and clear. Agribusiness owners, entrepreneurs, founders, we have to be resilient. We have to be able to look for like-minded stakeholders. It's never easy when you're doing something new. It's never easy to be an innovator or pioneer. I'll quickly move to Nkiru. As a co-founder, can you explain to us what you have learned in your journey that is critical to building sustainable agribusinesses?
We set up a company based on technology using irrigation, greenhouse, temperature control, and all that. And I realized, because one of the things we encourage the young people who are trying to get into agriculture is try to use technology as much as possible. But I now have a caveat. Make sure the technology you're using is not far ahead of the environment in which you find yourself, which was what we had. We brought in 2015, before we really had greenhouses, we brought in a greenhouse, all bells and whistles from Netherlands. And we found out that when we have even a simple switch have a problem, there was nobody to fix it for us here. We're flying in experts from outside the country, and you can imagine what that was doing to our bottom line. So basically, I tell people now, full automation in some industries is not really what you need. You might have to do what we now call auto-manual. So some things might be automated. You might have to turn it off and try to find a manual version of it, because the parts, the expertise to fix it and to fix it and the rest is not here. Another thing I learned is that many things in Nigeria, we really don't have a growing problem. We have a selling problem. What I mean is, if you even come to the market, you see some farmers, even when you see the pictures of up north, they have grown a lot of fantastic things, but there's no market to sell it, and you're left to the wilds of the middlemen, and who actually take all the money, and the farmer is left with nothing. So one of the things we have learned, and which has helped us very much, is to try to get from the farmer to the final user. So by cutting all the middlemen. So the young people, they have an advantage in that they're very social media savvy, and they are starting businesses in the age of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, which they can use to sell. We found out because during the lockdown, we used to supply, we're just wholesale grower, so we used to supply to big supermarkets in wholesale. But during the lockdown, every business suffered, and we had to pivot because the shops were shut down. And then we had produce. You've been growing this thing for 3 months, it's ready, you have to sell it, and nobody's going to buy it because you can't take it to the shops. And if you take it to the shops, somebody comes to the shops to take it. So we had to pivot and now learn how to sell directly to the end users using things like simple WhatsApp groups, going to the estates and finding out you have practically every estate in Nigeria, or in Lagos at least, has a WhatsApp group. So trying to get into that WhatsApp group, having somebody to advertise for you on their WhatsApp group and stuff like that. So those are some of the things we learned. We learned that helping us to be sustainable in this environment, you have to know your selling media, and no matter the technology you use, make sure your technology is not far ahead of the environment in which you find yourself.
Thank you, Kiru. Thank you very much. And I hear that. Linkages from your market to your end user, absolutely. And as an agribusiness, you have customers everywhere. So you should learn to pivot and learn to connect with your customers direct. Bomi, I'm back to you. So with the trend that is happening now and how your business is moving, what would you say the future of your business is? Where do you see BioLoop in the next 5 years?
So for BioLoop, I do want it to be the biggest organic waste processor in Nigeria. And, in 5 years, it's ambitious, but I think we can do it. And I use the term biorefinery, and I hope people don't miss it, because really what we produce, we upcycle waste. I mean, we produce animal feed as well, but at the end of the day, what we're doing is this circular, enabling this circular economy of bringing waste products back into the economy. So we really want to be able to, produce protein, fertilizer, and energy as well. So it's really big for us to almost to build these, self-sufficient communities, farming communities. Imagine a farming community where, they produce their own energy, they produce their own food, and they produce their own fertilizer. That really changes, everything for them. It changes their bottom line, it changes their profitability, it changes their productivity. So, when we have, these communities making more money, producing more, and, it really should improve food security, nutrition in Nigeria. And that's the goal. We're looking very long term, and we're very much trying to affect the whole, the whole agricultural value chain.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I love that idea. Self-sufficient farming cities, energy sufficient, absolutely amazing. Great vision. And we're here to see it. Inkiru, as you've made the move from ExxonMobil all the way back to farming, has it been worth it?
Yes, it has. Lots more challenge. As I tell people, when I started my career in the oil and gas sector, I used to work offshore in the field, sometimes going as much as 1 month offshore. That pales into significance when you consider what I've seen in agriculture. It's challenging, but it keeps your mind thinking. And because I tell people, as even one of the former speakers said, food is medicine. If you're sick and you go to hospital, the first thing the doctor will tell you, eat before you take your medication. So food is a constant. Even if you don't have a roof over your head, you have to eat. Even if you don't have clothes on your back, you have to eat. So food is a constant that's going to be with us. Yes, it's not been as profitable as I thought it would have been now because of the challenges and because we're doing a lot of the things where inputs in our industry is dollarized. And when the cost of dollar goes up, it affects everything, even as much as diesel and the rest. And you can't keep passing the rising costs to the end user because the end users are very price sensitive. So price sensitive sometimes it's shocking. So you end up absorbing some of those things, but it has been fulfilling, I can say, and because there's still so much promise in the sector. We haven't scratched, when you see things that have been done in Kenya and Rwanda, you know, we haven't still scratched the surface of what we can do in agriculture. So that keeps us going. So with over 200 million people to feed and a growing population, it's still a very good sector to come in, but make sure you understand the sector and understand where you can come in the value chain. Everybody doesn't have to be a farmer. It might be logistic. Many of us have logistic problems. So understand the sector first and find it and come in where you think you can play better.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you. And there are a few questions in the chat box for you, but before we take that, I need to ask you this question because we are all here and entrepreneurs are listening to you and there are a few feedback that are agreeing with you. But in 2 minutes each, Bomi, will start with you. What do you think needs to happen so that we can better position African entrepreneurs to be able to capitalize on climate innovation?
That's a good question. I think one is obviously sensitization. People need to be aware of what climate change is doing. People might not be aware. Yeah, I think, and the fear is, we'll start caring when it's too late. So climate change, I think, probably doesn't figure in Nigerians' top 10 problems that they face on a daily basis, but it really does, exacerbate all these other issues that you might be facing. So insecurity, cost of food, all these things are, related to climate change. So I think people need to be, one, aware of that, and, they need to almost see the effects. And two, I think is where I think we've begun to do a better job, obviously, is building the research capabilities of, and doing, I guess, a bit more extension and supporting innovators and entrepreneurs and farmers who do these things. I guess in Nigeria at the moment, there's been steps specifically with energy generation. So, I mean, there are quite a few firms who do solar, and who've done huge amounts of support. And so we need to kind of extend that. And, Guru mentioned, Kenya and Rwanda, and they have a much more enabling environment for, climate sensitive agriculture and just practices in general. So we need that, also that public push and that whole general, it needs to be very high on our agenda because we can't really take the same path of development as the Western nations did. The time has unfortunately passed. So we need to be a bit smarter about how we develop our businesses, and policies have to match that.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
No problem.
Same question.
Yeah, can you repeat it again, please?
Yes, what needs to happen in Africa so that we can better position youth to be able to capitalize on climate innovation?
The problem for us, as in primary production agriculture, farming, is that climate innovation are there, but for us in Nigeria, there's even no data. Before you can sensitize somebody about the climate changes and all that, there has to be data availability, and also the accuracy of the data available for us. Because yes, the youth have to take advantage of what is happening. But let me even give you an example for something where climate affects us for one. We know typically during the rainy season, we know the rainy season period starts from April to June up till about September. That has changed. Sometimes the rains come very late, sometimes the rain come very early. And many times the information we're getting from the weather control and the climate people is not even truthful. You can't even plan based on that. So before African youth can take advantage of anything climate innovation, we have to make sure that we even have the agencies to be able to give us the right information that you can use and do your planning. And if you're taking advantage of any climate information, it has to work hand in hand with market information. What do I mean is, during the rainy season, it's easy to grow vegetables, but that is the worst time to grow vegetables because when you take it to the market, it is to a penny because everybody can grow it. So as much as having the climate information and being able to leverage on it, you have to also make sure that the agencies giving you that or other agencies are supporting the market information. Because if the two don't go in hand, whatever you get from climate information and use it to do your innovation and go to market might be the worst time to take advantage of whatever innovation it is.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen in the room, there you have it. Lessons from African youth on innovative business models. As entrepreneurs in the agri-food space, we have to be able to, one, find the right stakeholders. You have to be able to align yourself with like-minded individuals that do understand what you're trying to do in the space and see the future in your business model. Businesses have to be designed to be able to pivot when shocks and changes happen. For example, as what happened with COVID-19 and Nkiru's business into we cannot sell directly to ShopRite and other outlets. We have to be able to go directly to the customer. We have to be able to use the right tech. The tech has to be suited for your environment, not one size fits all when it comes to technology. Market linkage is very important, and very key is also climate information and market information has to be accurate, relevant, and timely for entrepreneurs in the agri-food space to be able to take advantage and make informed decisions. I would like to say a very, very, very big thank you to Bomi and a very big thank you to Nkiru. It has been a wonderful and insightful conversation, and our chat box is absolutely blowing up. And one final question for you, Nkiru. There is a question regarding, please, do you have plans to extend your business tentacles to other parts of the country? Thank you, you're on mute.
For now, no, because my farm is in Lagos, and if we know everything about consumption in Nigeria, more than 50% of what is produced is brought to Lagos. So it behoves us to be, especially as the logistics for moving vegetables is still not set up. We're still moving them in a refrigerated trucks and all that. So for now, I have no plans to move beyond the Southwest because this is really where my market is for now.
Thank you for that. Also additional insights. Know your market, know your customers, understand your logistical strength, and play into that. Absolutely. Okay, with that, I would like to thank all the participants and also the panelists. Thank you very much. And I will hand over to Fisayo.
Thank you so much, Nkiru, Bomi, and Aisha, for that excellent discussion. We appreciate your insights and the lessons that you've shared with us. I believe that the entrepreneurs in the room have learned one or two things from your experiences. I'm going to call on Toyin again now. If you are ready to briefly, very briefly, in 1 minute, share your experience before we proceed to the next item on our agenda. Over to you, Toyin.
Thank you for everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Oluwatoyin 500 level student of animal nutrition at the Federal University of Agriculture. I was opportunity to be a Sahel Scholar in the year 2021. We are in the Sahel capital in Lagos. My experience at Sahel, I would say it was life-changing, educating, and enlightening because I was able to interact. I was able to hear an educated mind speak about the agricultural the agricultural land, the agricultural sector, and it sort of broadened my scope on how we Nigerian youth just see agriculture as something that includes good implements that we have to go to the farm. It's much more than that. One of the major highlights of my experience at Sahel was the opportunity that was given to me to visit an agri-partner company located at Enugu, the Sunji farms. I was so amazed to see how the value chains were being operated, how integrated business operation was taking place, unlike the Nigerian school sector where we get to start in class and get to read books. But my eyes were open to see for myself the various opportunities that are entailed in the agricultural sector and how this can be used to achieve a common goal in lives, educationally, even financially, because we know the economic of Nigeria presently is experiencing, I would like it, a downward slide. So agriculture on its own, with my experience at Sahel, has actually opened my mind and has built up a desire in me and a passion in me to become to become someone, a lady of impact in the agricultural sector, to carve a name for myself in the agricultural sector when I launch out. So Sahel has actually given me that opportunity, and it has helped me to even think wider on what I can do as a lady and how I can be of help, of impact to the society as a youth and an upcoming agriculturist. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Toyin, for sharing your experience. We will now move to the next agenda on our item, which is a breakout session. So we are going to be having leaders from Nourishing Africa, Young Africa Works Program at IITA, and the African Leadership Academy hosting these breakout sessions. You have the options on your screen to choose whichever group you want to join. In this session, we'll be discussing positioning the African youth for success, existing resources to support action and engagement in the food and agriculture landscape. And I assure you that this session will be an opportunity for you to engage with key organizations across Africa to support your actions and engagements in the African agriculture sector. Once again, thank you all for your participation and efforts in making this conference a success. We look forward to engaging in the breakout rooms.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nona Sekgoto. I'm a South African, and I'm a sector lead who looks after the AL for Agribusiness Network, which is a division of African Leadership Academy. I really am a bit sad that we don't have a lot more time, but I think what I would love to share with you guys today. Someone says I'm mute. Can you not hear me? Can anyone hear me? I need to see maybe thumbs up.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So Manga, maybe put up your volume, then you can hear me. Thank you. Great, so brief background. So I'm a commercial farmer in South Africa. So I've been working in the sector for 11 years now. I work on a 2,000 hectare farm. We do cattle farming, we put an apple orchard, we plant sunflower and maize. So it's a big farm and there's a lot going on. But what has excited me about this sector, and it has been really exciting to hear from all the speakers today, is the various opportunities that are available for young people to participate in the sector. And so personally, that has given an opportunity to really try and see how it is that young people can succeed in the sector using my own personal experience, as well as obviously connecting with others and sharing opportunities and experience to make sure that we are successful in the sector. And that's why I work at the African Leadership Academy. I look after a network of young leaders that are situated across Africa. And the purpose of our work is to really find opportunities and various exposure for young people to, one, participate in the sector, work in the sector, get exposure in the sector, and also connect with others in the sector to be able to kind of grow their careers in the agricultural sector. And so that's something I would love to share with all of you about the work we do at African Leadership Academy. So the first, I'm going to give you three ways that we support our young leaders, and I will also invite you to come and actually be part of our the work that we do. And as young people, we invite you all, regardless of where you are and where you participate in the agriculture sector. So the first thing that we really are passionate about, the work we do, is connecting our young leaders to each other. We believe that the reality is we as young people are the ones who are going to be here in the next couple of decades as the world is changing. And we want to make sure that we're all connected together to be able to work together across countries, across the agricultural value chain, to be able to collaborate and work together. So that's what we do. And so we hold events on a monthly basis, our monthly hangout, where we invite our existing members and new members to come and hear and share ideas and really understand how it is that they're working and see how people can collaborate. Collaboration is a big one in our sector. Another one is, the next one is obviously connecting our young leaders to various opportunities in the sector. That means connecting them to organizations that are doing work in the sector. And that means connecting them to jobs and opportunities such as internships so that they can get experience and develop their skills in the sector. And another exciting one, we have also been inviting young people who are not in the sector to come work in the sector. And for that, we want to make sure that everyone understands that whatever skills you have, you can find a place in the sector to use those skills. And so skills development and connecting our young leaders to opportunities is another big one. And then the third one is obviously where we start to try and help young people to grow their businesses and start businesses. In our network, we have a lot of young entrepreneurs who want to go into business, which is really exciting. So we also make sure that we connect our entrepreneurs with each other to learn, but we also connect them to opportunities to have access to skills, access to markets, access to finance, depending what production they do and depending on which country they are specifically. So in totality, I think what I would like you guys to take away from here is that once you're connected to a network where there's a lot of activities and people active in the sector, it's easier for you to find out what is relevant for you because there's so much information available for all of us. So I'm going to leave it at that. And then I'm going to also give you a link where you can join us. We are on a platform called Mighty Networks, and you can then be able to come and join us and come see all the opportunities that we share and come tell us about yourself so we can also understand what other opportunities should we be looking for that will be relevant for you. So if anyone has any questions, so do we have time?
We have about like 40 seconds on it, but we could definitely take one question.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Okay, let me add the link so that those who would like to speak to me at another stage can meet me on our platform, Mighty Network. So there's a link right there. Come join us, and we can have another opportunity for you to maybe join us at our hangout session, where we then have a group for those who are new, so we can try and see how to support them and bring them on into the network. Okay, so it looks like we've got a little bit more time, so I think I can take questions. This is so exciting. I've got to let you know, I've already seen Wedem and Ize and Isa and Yemisi joined our network. So hopefully you guys will have a good time with us. So does anyone have any questions? Okay, so very quiet. Does anyone can anyone like to share about who they are and just kind of let me know what kind of networks you are involved with in your area?
Hi guys, so if you have any questions for Nona, please put your questions in the chat box and Nona and I would read them out and she'll answer them.
Okay, so Wedem has sent us a question. Are there dues to be paid in joining the network? No. Our network.
Hello, Ma. Please increase your volume. I can't hear you.
Hi, Blessing. I can actually hear Nona just fine.
Blessing, so maybe in your volume.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Try put up your volume, Blessing. So as I was answering Widham's question, we do not charge any fees for our network. It's completely free. It's for young people, and we understand right now because the big thing we're doing right now is really giving access to each other, networking with each other, as well as networking with some of our partners when we invite them to events, as well as various opportunities that we find, we share on the platform. And so no pain. Hashim says, into maize production, I would like to connect with you personally to learn from your farm system and methods, please. Absolutely. So if you join me on Mighty Networks, what I do is I always encourage maybe groups. So if you know other people who would love to also know about maize production, I would be happy to put a session up for you guys so that I can then give you my information and some knowledge. Any more thoughts, questions?
Hi, Nana. So I have a question actually. So what would you consider probably the biggest challenges for you trying to network in the agribusiness sector right now?
So I think the biggest challenge is really knowing who is doing what you're doing, right? When you're going to networks, you want to be with like-minded people. So either you're interested in the same thing, or you are interested in just general things like agriculture, etc. And so for me, I think when I was building my networks, it was around who do I build the networks with and where are they? Where do you find these people? So at least you guys in this group already have a network. You know, the Sahel a scholarship program already gives you a network, and having discussions like these and events, you then are able to link up to your network. So for me, that's I think the challenge. So if you're not participating and you're not part of anything, then it's even more difficult. So you've got to participate.
Thanks, Nana.
There's a question and I see Edith's hand. So I'm going to ask Edith, please go ahead and ask your question and then we can chat. Hi, Edith, can you hear us? Okay, so I see here, the question and it says, and are the meetings just online? So at the moment they are online, but because COVID is opening up, I'm actually in West Africa at the moment. I'm here to actually, I'm in Abidjan. So I've had some session with some of our network members, and we're going to Accra tomorrow for the next couple of days. So we are now trying to move in person. So we will try and have more of those, but online is a lot more convenient. We can include more people and it's quicker for us to connect. Francis says, Edmodo, having the challenge that I don't have any agricultural insight, what do you advise me to do? So we're going back to the networks. You've got to be around people who are in agriculture. So joining our network, for example, will give you an opportunity to see what other people are doing. And then you can join these events to kind of learn more. And then we're often sharing opportunities that can maybe say, if you're starting up, we have a program for those who want to start in agriculture. So then you can join those programs so that you can then see what you can learn. So there's a variety of ways, but I think the first point of call is you've got to be around and spend time and effort being around people who actually are doing agriculture. That's where you will get the best information. I see Folake, question says, please go ahead and drop your questions. Okay, that's somebody else. Emerald, please, can I join your network? Yes, absolutely. I will share the link again. Please just click on the link. It will take you to our network platform. It's called Mighty Networks. There is quite a lot happening at the moment, but go in. And if you want to learn a little bit more, there is a place where you can actually get tips on how to make the most of it. So explore all the topics. And then also look out for some of the events that we put together. Our monthly hangout is the best one to attend because you can then come as a new person, as a new member, as well as come and meet other members. And then you can also come and ask your questions so we can see how do we then go on a journey to support you. I see Edith says, what are AI? AL is African Leadership. So African Leadership Academy, that's where the organization is. And so all our networks are called African Leadership for Agriculture. So that's what AL for Agribusiness stands for. I hope that makes sense. And are your meetings just online? So I've responded to that. Yes, right now they are online, but we are opening up to go into in-person. So over time, we hopefully will have more in-person meetings. Okay, I see William again. No, are there any success stories to share about the network? Yes, absolutely. I would love to share. So, so just to give you a brief, the network started in 2020 when I joined African Leadership Academy to actually establish this network. And the idea for the network is making sure that our young people connect. So in the last 2 years,
sorry to interrupt. We just have like a minute, 30 seconds left. So just keep you in the know.
Okay, great. So I think the point of collaborations is a big thing that I keep mentioning. And we have a lot of success stories around that. So if you join our network, you will come and meet these young people who I've connected to each other. We've supported to work together. And now they're sharing their experience to teach others how to work together. So there's a lot of different success stories. Others are building their own businesses. We've been able to connect them with various opportunities. Others are starting businesses. We put together a program that has allowed them to start thinking about their ideas, access finance through some of our support, and then go ahead and start businesses. So it really is a variety of ways, and especially those that are also accessing jobs. We have connected many young people to internships and jobs, which have yielded some really positive results. So please come and join us in our network so that we can, let you know what's going on, and hopefully you can also learn. Law students, you're finding opportunities in the network. Come. There's lots of law work for you. So join our network. We will connect you to opportunities.
Thank you so much, Nana. We have about 20 seconds left. Thank you so much for such an insightful
All right. Thanks, everyone. Come join us. We will answer all your questions.
Thanks, Nana.
Bye. Thanks, also.
Awesome. So we have up to 21 and counting people in this breakout session. Thank you so much for joining this breakout room. My name is Rahmat Eyifunjowo from Nourishing Africa. I am co-CEO. I'm going to be sharing a bit about Nourishing Africa, and I want this to be an entirely interactive session. And we want to share opportunities that are available for young people such as yourselves, myself, to participate and scale businesses in the agriculture sector. And if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in at any time, any point in time, to actually, share your insights. So to go right into it, this is a breakout session. Again, just to mention, so it's meant to don't get started at all. I would want us to do a very quick round of introductions. We only have about 10 minutes for this breakout session. So let's quickly introduce each other before I introduce Nourishing Africa. So who wants to get us started? Okay, I'm going to call names, given that we have very limited time. Francis, do you want to go first? Your name, what you're doing in the sector, and we'll go on like that.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ayodele Fanida from Soy Food, Nigeria. We're climate, we work between the farmers and the organic fertilizer producer, and we link that with climate change and carbon credit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Francis. It's a really delightful pleasure to meet with you. Ayodele, can you go now? Ayodele Fanida. Okay, since we can't hear from Ayodele, can we have?
I just did. Or is it that you
okay.
didn't hear me?
Oh, we didn't hear you at all.
Afternoon. I'm Ilesami Pupa. I work for Sahel Consulting. I'm a seed expert for the collaborative seed program. Thank you.
So much, Ilesami. It's a pleasure to have you here. Vera, can we hear from you?
Hello, good morning to everyone. I'm so happy to be part of this conference or session. My name is Vera Osei-Bonsu, and I'm from Ghana. And I am into the production of local baby food products for children from the ages of 6 months and above. So that means that I'm into manufacturing and processing of agri-food or agri-products. And I'm happy to be here. I'm learning a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the introductions. Fortunately, we have more people joining, and we wouldn't be able to go around. As you know, I would really want us to go into the topic of our discussion, that's sharing opportunities and resources that we have available at Nourishing Africa, and taking your feedback and comments. So to go right into it, Nourishing Africa is a home for 1 million agri-food entrepreneurs who are transforming our landscape. We understand and know the importance of the work that agri-food businesses do on the continent, producing, processing, marketing food from point A to point B, and essentially putting food on our table. And Nourishing Africa exists to support these agri-food businesses to ensure that they are successful, profitable businesses. So we do this in 3 ways, and I hope that you can leverage this opportunity and resources if you are an agri-food entrepreneur, or even if you are just an agri-food enthusiast, or in the private sector, public sector. Nourishing Africa actually and really provides opportunities and resources for every participant in the agriculture sector. So we have a membership hub that is a thriving online community of agri-food entrepreneurs. Vera actually is one of our members in Ghana. Within the community, members share resources with each other, are able to support each other to scale. They engage in peer-to-peer learning and form new business partnerships on this portal. We also have various knowledge and capacity buildings. I'm going to share a bit about that in another slide, where we engage in workshops and convenings to ensure that the agri-food entrepreneurs and their team have the right skills and knowledge to be able to build their businesses. So thirdly, we have our resource hub, which is a digital platform that provides various information on funding, data, e-learning, events, technology, talent, and so forth. And we are reaching over 100,000 stakeholders in the landscape at the moment. We have very specific mission. We're looking to drive the profitable and sustainable growth of our landscape by attracting, empowering, equipping, connecting, and celebrating over 1 million dynamic and innovative young agri-food entrepreneurs. And we aim to see a flourishing, sustainable, and just food ecosystem that leverages agtech and digital innovations that ensures that Africa's vibrant entrepreneurs contribute to the continent's food security, ensures that the continent nourishes itself, and that we become a net exporter of food. We're currently importing most of our food. So I'm going to share a bit of some of our activities. The first here is the Youth in Agri-Food Export Development Program happening here in Nigeria. The program closed recently. Applications for the program closed recently, and we're launching very soon. We're pretty excited about this particular opportunity because it provides SMEs opportunities to actually be able to participate in export. We have seen that export is typically, the effort of the big businesses, and we want to make that available to young as SMEs who are operating in Nigeria. We are hoping that we can actually scale this particular program in other African countries. So stay tuned and watch out for this. So this will provide a lot of mentoring, training, hand-holding, and market linkages to ensure that the businesses that are in this program are able to export their produce outside of Nigeria. As I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of knowledge and capacity building initiatives, from trainings and masterclasses to podcasts to ask an expert sessions where agri-SMEs ask questions directly to experts, and our first Thursday's events, which has a wide coverage across the continent and even beyond. We've seen so many stakeholders attend from Germany to Belgium and so forth. Many of them are virtual, some of them are in person, and this is really to ensure that agri-SMEs have the right skills, knowledge, resources that empowers and equip them to scale one, when we have various agribusinesses on a day-to-day basis. They're able to co-create solutions together, connect, share, and learn from other agri-entrepreneurs across the 7 African countries. So if you are an agri-food entrepreneur operating in Africa, you definitely need to join the Nourishing Africa community. Within the community, members are able to find potential customers, partners, distributors, and suppliers. Depending on how active you are in the community, we've seen really super active members who are creating transformational changes in the community. They're partnering, they've found new customers, and they're distributing their produce out of their countries down to Nigeria, to Ghana, to South Africa, Zimbabwe. You know, it's a platform that empowers you with limitless opinions and workshops. We refer our members to funders and funding opportunities on a regular basis. There's access to members-only data. We nominate our members for local and global speaking opportunities, prizes, fellowships, awards, and so forth. And of course, there's always opportunity to match you with some potential industry experts who can serve as coaches and mentors. Like I said, it's really important as an agri-food entrepreneur to be a part of this community. So my colleague will drop the link in the chat. If you're interested in finding out more and becoming a member, please use this link you see on your screen and in the chat. I'll reach a little bit about, okay, so I'm going to stop here and take questions because we're out of time. So please, the floor is open. If you have any questions on the resources that I have just shared, please unmute and just speak. Thank you so much.
All right, good afternoon. The anchor of this program. I really appreciate this program that you guys are putting up today. I really have 2 questions to ask you guys as regards Nourishing Africa. Number one, I observed that the numbers of youth were increasing every day. And especially in some states in Nigeria where some people or the youth doesn't have access to facilities.
The breakout session is still ongoing and we have another 10 minutes, given that the conversations are going well. So if you are here, please join a breakout session. Join one of the 3 groups that we have.
Oh, thanks, Fisayo. So we can go back into the
option. I think we've been given another 10 minutes.
All right.
Let's please go ahead. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay, let me quickly conclude on the question I want to ask. Concerning the project or the program you established in the Nourishing Africa, I I've been to Ibadan for 2 to 3 times, and I have not seen, I've not been able to see the impact of this program where it is actually needed in Nigeria. What I mean is that Oyo State is one of the biggest states in Nigeria, and as such, we the people in Oyo State are supposed to feel the impact of this project. So the question is that, do you have maybe now or in future to extend the program to states like Oyo State, Ogun State, and other states like that in the Southwest in Nigeria? That's my question. Because basically the purpose of any
Thank you so much, Mr. Kenya. So,
all right.
Yes, so Oyo State in Nigeria has been, engaged in many of our programs. So first, Nourishing Africa is an organization. It is a company, not a project, but we also have some projects ongoing, mostly in Nigeria. And like I said, we're looking to scale those projects and programs to other African countries. We're also working with several partners in other African countries on some of their projects. So for Oyo State in Nigeria, I moved back to this particular slide because Oyo State is actually one of the states participating in this program. We had another program last year where Oyo State was also one of the participants, state participants on the program. So might possibly be, the information did not reach you wherever you are, and we're going to definitely intensify our communications efforts.
Ramat, sorry for cutting you short. You said you are in Oyo State. I mean, you operate in Oyo State, so to say. But I have not felt the impact, because basically the purpose of any project is to get a positive result. In as much the project is or in as much the project exists, we should at least get minute or small effects on the environment where the project is carried out. But I have not, sorry to say this, I've not been able to feel.
Yeah, it's totally fine. There's no need to be sorry to say it. So it has to do with a lot. So, we have limited time, Mr. Kenyola. I really have to cut you so that we can have other participants also contribute to this discussion. And Nourishing Africa is a Pan-African platform across various African countries. So we've been discussing Oyo State, Nigeria for the past 5 minutes or more. So, but please definitely reach out to me via our info at nourishinafrica.com, and I'll be happy to engage more and even engage if you have some partner recommendations for us in the state. So I see Francis Fusu, and any other person who really has contributions, please feel free to jump in and ask a question or your comments.
My name is Francis Fusu Kobia from Ghana. I am embarking on a.
Nice to meet you.
My company is OKF Construction, and my farm name is OKF Plantation. I am embarking on a large-scale economic tree plantation to mitigate the climate change. But in a smart way, I'm planting 5 million trees for 5 years. I have my team, I have a fertile land, I have my timeline, the plans I want to do. The only thing, I have my budget. The only thing which is left to the funding, and I'm asking, do you have office in Ghana, or how I can get to them through you? Maybe can get a loan or partners or investors.
Thank you so much, Francis. So we're a digital platform first and foremost, so we don't have offices everywhere, but we do have networks and stakeholders across African countries, and our members are from 37 African countries. I've also mentioned that we actively help our members to source for opportunities and connect them with those opportunities. So I think the very first step, Francis, is to join the Nourishing Africa Hub, and then you communicate to us your specific needs for your businesses, and we then actively try to find resources and opportunities that match your needs and present them to you. But mostly it is really up to the entrepreneurs to leverage these opportunities. That's one. And secondly, we send our members regular newsletters. with tons and tons of opportunities on funding, on capacity building, on various stakeholders doing amazing things and who wants to partner with entrepreneurs. So those newsletters are dedicated to our members, and many of our members have testified that they've gotten some funding, some grants, some this and that from those newsletters that we share. Those newsletters are, you know, a landmine of several opportunities in the sector. So definitely join the hub and reach out to us on membership@nourishingafrica.com to share, you know, some of these issues that you have raised.
Sorry, good afternoon once again. A quick
Good
one.
afternoon.
Everybody has been talking about membership. What are the criteria for becoming a member of Nourishing Africa? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're working with agri-SMEs, so definitely you have to be an agribusiness. You have to own the agribusiness. We work with the entrepreneurs because that's where, I mean, it's really important to drive change from the top. So if you're an entrepreneur who own an agribusiness anywhere in Africa, you've been operational for more than 6 months, you have a product or service in Africa, and you require some sort of support, or you can even contribute to the community, then you're welcome to join. Those are the most basic criteria. We do not what's it's called, we have no bias to gender, to any location in Africa. So all agri-SME entrepreneurs are welcome to join the platform as long as you have a business in operations and you have the products and services and you need some support to scale. I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know if Ola or Uyai can please check the chat for me in case I'm missing any particular question.
Yes, Ramat. So far, there have been some questions, but I think you've touched on one of them, which is the criteria for joining Nourishing Africa. Another question, or rather just a comment about the good work Nourishing Africa is doing in general. Still being true. If you have questions, you could also send through the chat, or you could just unmute and speak since this is a breakout session. Thank you.
So much, Ola. I see some of our members in the chat. A big shout out to you. Some of them are already testifying to what I was saying. Thank you, Vera. You're saying our Telegram community is effective. Absolutely. If you become a member, you join the Telegram community where you can engage with others. And Hakizimana, I hope I'm not pronouncing your name wrongly, also is talking about the funding opportunities that we share with our members. Thank you so much, both of you. If you have any questions at all, please write to us at info@nourishingafrica.com or membership@nourishingafrica.com, and please share the word with other agri-food entrepreneurs out there. We understand how hard it is to actually navigate the entrepreneurial ecosystem, especially in agriculture and food. That's a different dynamic already. And as young entrepreneurs, we really need to connect, we really need to collaborate. There's so much that can happen when we work together. And I really hope that we can leverage this platform to scale. And we definitely connect you with other platforms, other partners, other stakeholders who can serve as mentors, funders, or even help you to navigate your entrepreneurial journey. So thank you so much for participating in this breakout session. If you still want to reach out to us, our emails are open to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the good work you are doing. Bye for now.
Thanks, Ramat, for that wonderful.
Thank you so much, Ola. Thank you, Udai.
Please do not forget, if you have questions, please reach out to us via email. I've dropped the emails in the chat. You can actually look at it, either info@nourishingafrica.com or membership@nourishingafrica.com. Thank you once again. Also, just to mention, we'll be returning back to the breakout room in a few, let's say in about 30 seconds. Please do not leave. There's still some vital information for you to get. Once again, thank you for being part of this breakout room. I'll see you in the main room.
Proves, of course, the life is that we are going to get young people more and more involved in, positioned at a different level. For instance, if we have young people understanding technologies, for instance, at IIT, let me just give a quick example of AFLACEF, for instance. We would have those young people learning those technologies, even creating a certain level of revolution along those technologies, because they have been developed. Yes, the private sector is looking for those technologies. So there is a business opportunity. There is a gap there to say, these private sectors, companies that are looking for these technologies, who are the people who are bringing the technology to them? Of course, these technologies may be available at IIT, but a young person needs to take that business of saying, okay, I'm going to be positioning myself as a person that is going to start this business in really this kind of technological innovations and taking it next to the next level. Because once research has been developed, if this research is not taken over to practical environments, if this research is not taken over by private sector to reproduce it, to make sure that it gets to the farmers, the end users, this research is becoming really like just any other thing that we keep in our shelves. And that is one opportunity for young people to do. There is also a very strong gap in the sector itself. Private sector companies, they often need qualified labor to work for them, whether it is in the area of mechanization and other areas. And when this is happening, it is very important for young people who have those skills, perhaps even who need additional skills, to be able to learn those skills and be able to take them further, And these companies, there is a need for us as perhaps institutions to work with these companies to say, what are those skills that you need? These young people that are coming from universities, that are graduates from, agricultural sector, from different areas, they come in with knowledge, but this knowledge needs experience. And this experience, they can only get it if you give them a slot in your companies. On the other hand, companies spend a lot of money, bringing labor from elsewhere, which is very expensive for those companies. How can we bridge that skill gap between private sector companies and young people? That is another area that we need to very much be able to look into. So I think getting to understand that is very, very important for us, so that we can be sure to bring every other person to the ground. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Aline. I hear all you say. Repositioning the youth, especially towards research and knowledge acquisition, also leveraging on the skills they've learned in universities and giving them opportunities to develop better in different industries. Unfortunately, we do not have enough time, but we just have a single question. I think maybe you could take it before the breakout session ends. Someone says he stays close to IIT and then he doesn't see or hear this opportunity to mention the IIT is given to the youth. Did you want to speak to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was saying that we have an entire unit dedicated to young people, which is called the Youth in Agribusiness. And under that unit, there are several opportunities for young people to either participate in some of our trainings. They can take place in our training. And if they're taking part of our training, this means that they can actually be able to acquire knowledge, or eventually after the training, you will always have a chance to get a training to start your own business, which means you get a business development training where you can start your own business, and then you can work as, you can also create your own jobs, mostly in different value chain, and it could also be in value addition, or you can do poultry, you can do aquaculture in any of our programs. Some of the programs are implemented in Oyo State, some are in Kano, some are in Kaduna, some are in Lagos, and in many other places in Nigeria. For the second opportunity that you can get in IITA is you can also apply for internships. I mean, we have an entire capacity development unit that is looking forward to receiving applications sometimes, and it's really positions people in the areas where they have the interest or where they can best learn. We work with a lot of partners as well. And so besides training and business development, we provide coaching and mentorship to young people to set up, do advocacy and lobby to make sure also just that happen at the policy front. But since this section is about opportunities that are existing, I just would like to people.
Hi.
Responsibility.
Thank you so much, Ellen. I don't know if you see how your network is breaking at this point in time. But just to summarize, to respond to the question, you mentioned that IITA provides training and business development opportunities and also internships. And I know before we lost you initially, you mentioned that all this can be accessed via the IITA website. Okay, I don't see any other questions on the chat box, but if we have someone that has a question for Aline at this point in time, please do signify by raising your hands and I will let you speak. All right, Aline, I think we have a quick one now. Someone says he's actually utilized these platforms. I see you've also shared the link where this can be accessed. I don't know if you want to respond to that. He has made applications to this platform and then there's not been a response.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it depends on the exact place where you sent the application to, and if your CV and your interest, can be really covered by those available opportunities in the institute. But as I said, there's a huge gap in terms of the youth understanding the research, the technologies, the innovations that are being developed. And we really are focusing on training young people to understand those technologies and to scale them. They are developed in IITA, but they need to get to the end users or the farmers. So those are some of the things that we have been able to do and we're doing. And if you've sent your application and you have not been able to receive any response, kindly do resend it again. And in this time around, you can also CC me or Innovation Youth in Agriculture at cgr.org.
All right, thank you so much, Aline. Will you be kind to drop the reference you just pronounced, the CC? And so those that will want to send in applications can take it up from the chat box and make use of it. I think this also answers what your response just now answers the last question. Someone is saying from a distance, how can they assess these opportunities? I want to ask a rider on that question. Is it on the platform where this application is being made? Is it stated where the locations where the business development trainings are being provided?
It depends, because some of them are project-based, yeah, and some of them are in specific geographical areas, like the Innovative Youth in Agriculture project, for instance, is only implemented in Lagos, in Kano, and in Kaduna. But we have other projects implemented in Oyo State, in Osun, Ogun. We have other projects in One, in Benue, in Adamawa. So we are all over. It just depends on the kind of interest you have. And for the ones that are saying from a distance, how can you participate? We have recently started our e-learning on, which is a partnership between Coursera and the Innovative Youth in Agriculture. projects of IITA to ensure that we bring the training, and especially in the agricultural sector, the best that the sector can offer at an online platform, to the young people in Nigeria. So feel free if you want to engage us on that, and you are in Nigeria or you are a young Nigerian, we would be very pleased to really encourage you to apply. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ellen.
Please share the link in the comments so you can be able to access it.
All right, thank you so much, Ellen. To Adeyemi, I think that answers the question. Aline just mentioned that there's an e-learning platform. So yes, that's something that you can make use of virtually from a long distance. And we have one other question here. Someone is asking if someone must be an agricultural graduate to apply to IITA.
Yeah, I see Victor has spoken about the non-IITA, the non-agricultural graduates. That is also very important to say. There's so many opportunities for young people, especially those who want to create their own businesses. You do not have to be an agricultural graduate. Our training provides capacity development to young people so they can be able to move to the agricultural sector, even if they're coming from other sectors. Let me also say that agriculture is not exclusive to other sectors, right? We are particular because agriculture is agriculture. You have to have a certain knowledge if you are engaged in primary production. But if you are engaged in processing, in value addition, in marketing, you can get engaged in communication, logistics. All those are opportunities for young people. You can even be an advisor if you have the knowledge. And the training we provide, basically, or the capacity development component of our work, is indeed to give that level of knowledge to young people so they can be able to start their own businesses in agriculture or be able to divert from another sector to come to agriculture. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's really, that's a great opportunity for this. So we're not just exclusive to agricultural graduates, and everybody, as long as you're a youth, you have an opportunity to tap into the IITA opportunities. We have one more question. I think it's also a very nice question. People in schools that are not graduates, whether agriculture or not agriculture, but they're still in schools, can they apply? Besides e-learning, I know that can be done, but besides e-learning to this business development and internship, can people that are still in school apply for these opportunities?
Yes, we have two programs. Okay, let me just speak about the different categories we have. We have the first one, which we call the entrepreneurship track. The entrepreneurship track essentially focuses on young people who want to start their own businesses. So we give them business development training and then give them a chance to apply to help them to develop a business proposal and then link them to financial opportunities, places where they can be able to access finance. But of course, they need to have a good proposal and develop a business plan. We have the second one, which is the entrepreneurship. Those are getting skills so that they can access employment. We have the STEP, which are actually younger youth who are already in high school. And then we have the young farmers cohort who are already engaged in farming, but they need additional capacity. And finally, we do have the e-learning. So those categories, under each of those categories, we are looking for special youth that have interest in agriculture and want to make an impact to the sector.
Okay, thank you so much. We don't have enough time, and I would like to call
Yes, there is a certification, yeah. We provide the certificates, yeah.
What about the cost? Somebody has a question around the cost of the trainings.
Usually the cost is covered by us. The cost of the training is covered by us. It's free.
Youth in agribusiness or youth in the agricultural sector. She highlighted what AL was and how youth could leverage that opportunity to create opportunities for themselves. And yeah, that's basically what it is, just emphasized on the importance of networking, emphasized on using the platform to grow yourself in agriculture.
Thank you so much, Soso. Mohammed was with Alice in her breakout room, and I'd like you to also in 1 minute, share with us the key highlights from the discussion.
Well, thank you so much, Fisayo. So we had a really insightful discussion with Aline. She spoke a lot about the opportunities that IIT provides, but primarily she spoke about the importance of utilizing the youth network in Nigeria, repositioning the youth, catching them young, especially from those times when they're in universities and the skills they develop from the universities, giving them opportunities to work in different agricultural industries and companies to utilize this knowledge they have. And she also mentioned that one of the challenges we face with the youth network in Nigeria is one of the challenges we face with youth network in Nigeria is the gap in knowledge. There might be that knowledge, but even when it's there, it's not being effectively utilized in technology. It's not being effectively utilized in terms of research as well. Furthermore, Aline gave us a bit of insights into the opportunities that IIT provides to youth. Two primary opportunities that youth on the school can also access are, one is there's business development, and then opportunity that IIT provides, and training as well for different value chains in agriculture. And although this is project-based, but I'm sure this is, once you go through the IIT website, this will be shared on the group chat, you will find opportunities you can tap into. Secondly, the second opportunity you can get from IIT is also internship. And internship in the sense that you could apply to IIT to find different areas where you could work in and develop skills, and also utilize knowledge you've gained from school. And I would like to say, she also mentioned that this is not exclusive to people that are still in that are graduates of agricultural departments or faculties or courses. Youths from every walk of life, whether you're still in school or out of school, you can make use and access this opportunity from IIT. And lastly, there's also the e-learning platform for those that are from locations where IIT is not present. These are all opportunities that you can get for IIT for the youths. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muhammad, for the detailed summary. I would call on the final person, Ola, to share with us the key insights from the breakout room with Ramat.
All right, thanks, Fisayo. So we had Ramat, the co-CEO at Nourishing Africa, share about Nourishing Africa with the members in the breakout room, and she basically was able to let everyone know about the mission at Nourishing Africa, which is to attract and equip and also celebrate and grow 1 million agri-food entrepreneurs from all around Africa, and also make Africa a net exporter of food and a food secure continent by the year 2050. And she touched on how that is being done with or through 3 key areas, which is the membership hub, and by also providing strategic a resource platform, and also capacity building. For the membership hub, she mentioned the criteria, which is you have to be an African, you have to be in the agri-food business, video now the business, and be located within Africa, and you're able to then join as a member and connect with other fellow entrepreneurs, connect with resources to grow your business, connect with critical links and tools to capacity building tools, to funding opportunities, to markets, and to stakeholders that could generally help you scale your business through that membership community. And for the trainings, she also mentioned that we deliver strategic both online and offline trainings for agripreneurs to be able to help them grow their capacity. And for the resource hub itself, she touched on how over 100,000 both agri-food entrepreneurs and enthusiasts are leveraging the tons of resources, be it around funding, be it around capacity building, be it around trainings and workshops, whereby they are using it to be able to grow their capacity in the agri-food sector. She also touched on the ongoing program, which is being done in Nigeria for exports, growing the capacity of people to be able to develop export-based agri-food businesses. And finally, concerning some questions that came through, which is basically centered around how to become a member, she was able to direct them to the chat, and I will be sharing that link also in the chat right now, so that for any agribusiness owner from all around Africa, wherever you are, you could become a Nourishing Africa member within a few minutes and then start enjoying or leveraging the tools and resources that are available to you through the Nourishing Africa membership hub. So to do that, you could easily click on the link in the chat as I've shared. So that's about it from the breakout room. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ola. Thank you to all our speakers, panelists, moderators, and all the prestigious participants so far. We are certain that you've learned a lot and you've benefited from this event. As we continue, please do not forget to continue to share key takeaways and insights that you've gotten from this event on all social media platforms, and do not forget to tag Sahel Consulting and use the hashtag SSC 2022. It's evident that there are wide ranges of resources that you can leverage to support your activities in the landscape. Please, we encourage you to continue to connect with those resources, reach out to people, network with all the relevant stakeholders, and get a mentor if possible to support you in your activities. At this point, I would like to invite Temi Adegoroye, who is a managing partner at Sahel Consulting, to give the closing remark. Over to you, Temi.
Thank you, Fisayo. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, okay.
All right, thanks very much. I want to say good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are in the world, to everyone. Thank you very much for joining this year's Sahel Scholars Program conference. There's no doubt that this has been a very inspiring and thought-provoking conference with so much energy, participation, even in the chat box, as well as the conversations that happen in the breakout sessions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this conference. And I must say that there is no better time to hold these this kind of discussions on the climate and food nexus, and the role of the African youth, and what considerations the African youth could possibly explore to make impact and play actively in this space. I personally have learned a lot from the informative panel discussion sessions. The first one on climate smart agriculture to drive sustainable solutions, and the second one on exploring innovative agri-food business models in a changing climate. And I have some insight and even some quotes. For example, in the first panel, the panelists spoke about examining the data and trends around climate change and the effects on food. Also, some conversations around the adoption and scaling of climate smart solutions, and how they're also impacted by policy inconsistencies and ineffective implementation of policies across the continent. And the second panel has some very great quotes from Nkiru and Bonit. Thanks very much for doing so much justice to the discourse. The use of technology is very critical, but you have to ensure that it is not too far ahead of the environment you find yourself. That's very, very great insight. Thank you very much, Nkiru. Also, we have to be smarter, with how we adopt innovations and match adoption strategies with the appropriate policies. But me, that came from you. Thanks so much. And then the use of climate information in production planning must be matched with appropriate market information, to ensure that you are innovating the production process to respond to the market at the right time. That was also very critical, and that's a very great insight that I personally taken away. And I would, as part of my closing remarks for this year's conference, I would like to build on some of the insights to say that basically encouraging all the participants today to continue to raise alarm, continue to raise an alarm on the food crisis and conflicts confronting the continent as a result of climate change and all the various shocks that we're experiencing in recent times. Also, I would like to encourage all of us to continue to call to action the various stakeholders in the sector, including government, non-profit organizations, international NGOs, private companies, and to encourage them to develop mitigation strategies to curb the impact of climate change on the food systems on this continent. And lastly, I would like to say that definitely we need to continue to showcase and promote the various innovations and initiatives being implemented across the continent by the private sector, to reduce the impact of climate change on food production, in order to support greater collaboration for scaling all the high impact interventions that we've either piloted or we're currently implementing. And I would say that on behalf of the board, management team, and the entire teams at Sahel Consulting, Sahel Capital, and Nourishing Africa, I say huge thanks to everyone, to our amazing speakers and panelists for making the time out of their very busy schedules to join and speak at this conference. Thank you so much. You're very busy entrepreneurs and business leaders. We really appreciate your time and the insights you shared. I also thank so much for joining all of our participants, and thank you for your very amazing contributions. We appreciate it, and I want to believe that we have the opportunity to be together again in 2023, and to continue to learn from one another, as agri-food champions on this continent, as we continue to transform the food ecosystem in Africa. Please remain good ambassadors of the food system, the food ecosystem on the continent, and let's continue to push and push until we get to the point where we achieve self-sufficiency and we achieve the transformation we all want to see in our food ecosystem across the continent. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Temi, for the closing remark. We have now come to the end of this event. We deeply appreciate you all for your participation and engagement, and we encourage you to please keep in touch with us via our social media platforms, Sahel and Nourishing Africa, as well as our website. We'd love to continue to hear from you and your work, so please stay connected. Thank you once again. Enjoy the rest of your day, and God bless you all.